city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is June 7th, YC126, and this is the Eve Universe Show. Welcome, welcome. Settle on in. Don't forget to like the stream. If you are new here, consider subscribing because we go over all of the news of Eve Online and put it into context for my fellow Empyreans. That's all of you guys out there that want to stay up on all of the Eve goodness. And if you're one of those people that have rewound to the beginning, welcome back. Glad to see you here. But we have a lot to go into today, Full disclosure, I'm pretty sure we're not going to get into the Chronicle or the New Eden News. We may have to wait till Monday for all that because how should I put this? To the one commenter, or to the commenter that was commenting on the fact that CCP can summarize something in 20 minutes and it takes me an hour and a half to go over it. Oh boy, buckle up, because you ain't seen nothing yet. We have a lot to talk about today. They have released the patch notes. There was a developer comment, interview with the different directors of the game. 4 of them now. 2, I think at least one of them was the first time we've ever seen them for the first time. We got changes that was announced just today. It's the kind of day that makes me go, oh my God, it's the first Chronicle in the last, I don't know, half decade or more. That's the second piece of news for the day. Like that, the secondary piece of news for the day. So let's jump into Equinox. We also have some other news about the shooter and whatnot. We do have a lot to cover today and not nearly enough time. So we are going to jump through this. One of the things I will say is that the patch notes, it's so crazy because they talk about how big the patch notes are and they are significant. Oh, Tranquilla, thank you so much for that support. Why it doesn't show the people who it goes to over here? Hold on. Yes. So to Bumpy, Alex, Akrazgel, Eustache, Steve, Josh, Xavier, Andre, Erratic, Elzon, on behalf of all of them, and of course myself, Tranquilla, you're one of the people that makes all of this possible. Thank you so much for your support. And congrats to all of those who got the memberships. You get all of those emotes and access to the Discord and access to videos live if I ever go and edit a video. So is this what is happening here? Okay, this should be here. It should also be smaller. There we go. Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, but let's jump back into it. There are quite a bit of patch notes. Where is it? Oh no. Here we go. Expansion notes. There we go. All right, let's go into this. We're going to go through it in order. We're going to ask our questions. And I'm going to try to do my best to kind of help explain, because some of these changes, you know, this is my job. I put Eve into context for my fellow Empyreans. So let's jump into it. Null-sec sovereignty changes. With the Equinox expansion includes significant updates to null-sec sovereignty space with Upwell structures, notably the Orbital Skyhook, Sovereignty Hub, and Metenox Moondrill. Orbital Skyhooks, replacing customs offices, will be essential to extracting new resources like power, workforce, and reagents from planets. However, this also introduces a new vulnerability, as some of these structures can be hacked, and all of them can be destroyed by players, creating an opportunity for conflict and resource theft. Furthermore, their presence attracts pirate attention, adding another layer of risk. The Sovereignty Hub replaces existing territorial structures and introduces upgrades to enhance player-controlled null-sec systems. These upgrades offer strategic choices for specializing controlled systems, leading to territorial conflicts and dynamic gameplay. For instance, the Pirate Detection Array upgrades can reveal high-value combat sites with escalation potential, while other upgrades unlock hidden ore deposits. Additionally, the Metenox Moondrill, a new deployable structure, allows automated moon mining in low-sec, null-sec, and wormhole space. opening up resource opportunities for smaller groups and creating new targets for aggressors. Orbital Skyhook. Replacing the customs offices, the orbital Skyhook takes the form of the anchor and will be required to extract resources from planets. Not only will it will not only replace but retains the functionality of the customs offices as a resource interface for planetary industry, but also enables the extraction of new colony resources introduced with Equinox. Skyhooks can be attached to all planet types, but only within player-owned sovereign nullsec space, and only one can be placed in orbit of each planet. So remember, if you deploy one of these things on a planet that already has a POCO, it'll transform the POCO into the Skyhook. If it doesn't have anything, then it'll just deploy the Skyhook. This is only for null security space, sovereignty null security space. That means you cannot produce the reagents anywhere outside of null sovereignty space. Power is provided by the sun, with larger suns giving the most power, and while white suns give the least amount of power. It also provides gas, storm, and plasma planets. Power cannot be moved and is local to the solar system. So we've said before, this is like the system's cap on how much stuff can be running on the system. So if a system has things like plasma planets or more powerful suns like blue stars, it can have a lot more upgrades than a sun or a star that has like a white dwarf and a whole bunch of like barren planets and no plasma or anything like that. Workforce is provided by the working population available to suitable planets, which are barren, oceanic, and temperate planets. Workforce can be imported and exported via the Sovereignty Hub through different solar systems that same alliance controls, as long as the systems are directly connected together. By the way, if somebody starts jotting down timestamps, the first person to give me the functional timestamps that I actually can use for this video, I'll give 4 Master Arm cerebral accelerators. So get to jotting. Reagents come in the form of ice and lava planets and have to be manually collected. So workforce is extracted from barren, oceanic, and temperate planets, and then have to be basically daisy chained to wherever they need to be, end up being, via Sovereignty Hub upgrades. But they are managed logistically through UI, as opposed to reagents, which have to be physically moved. Reagents come from ice and lava planets and have to be manually collected and moved. Magmatic gas is provided by lava planets, is used to fuel the Metenox moon drill, as well as the sinusoidal navigation and the sinusoidal suppression upgrades. So that's the Sino Beacon and Sino Jammer upgrades, requires an ongoing supply of magmatic gas in order to run. Whereas the superionic ice is provided by ice planets and is used to fuel the Advanced Logistics Network and Syllabix Jump Gate and Super Capital Construction Facility upgrades. So if you want either of those, you need that superionic ice. It appears that superionic ice may not be necessary for the Metenox moon drill. I assume that was not left out by accident. Take access to the reagent bay is going to be governed by ACL on the Skyhook. That's an access control list. That's the more modern way of handling such things, which can be set up by players using the station config manager role, directors, or the CEO of the corporation. Immature reagents will be produced over time from the Skyhook anchored at a lava and ice planet, will slowly become mature, at which point they can be extracted by players. Skyhook yield will gradually improve over time as their immature bay becomes larger. So, okay. So it basically it can extract a whole bunch and then it has to wait for that to mature and then it can extract more, but its bay becomes bigger so it can extract more. And so it gets bigger and bigger, which also makes it so that there's bigger and bigger amounts of heistable material too. If a Skyhook gets stolen from, then all of the mature reagents will be taken and the immature reagents will be lost, resetting and slowing down the improved ramping yield. Okay, so that also removes the ramping yield, making defending Skyhooks important. Reagents can be stolen by linking to a Skyhook reagent silo, which is present at Skyhooks, and are now harvesting reagents from ice and lava planets. To link to a silo, players will need to shoot it to below 10% shield HP first, and then we'll need to link to it using a ship which is cruiser-sized or larger, including capital ships, but excluding freighters and jump freighters. While linked, players cannot warp, use micro-jump drives, cloak, or tether, and their maximum velocity is capped at 1,000 meters per second. Additionally, Starting a theft on a Skyhook silo will send a notification to all players in the same solar system, and after 2 minutes, all pilots within 1 jump, and finally, after 5 minutes, an additional notification to within 2 jumps. After 10 minutes have elapsed, the theft will be successful, and the cargo bay will eject loot from the silo for anyone to collect. The orbital Skyhook has a single reinforcement cycle with similar hit points, resistances, and damage cap to existing Upwell medium structures, such as the Raitaru or Athenor, so the more vulnerable ones. Corporations who own a customs office at a planet can replace it with the Skyhook by going to their customs office and deploying a Skyhook. The customs office will then be replaced with the Skyhook, and all of the PI commodities inside the customs office will automatically be transferred to the Skyhook. They thought of it! If a corporation wants to deploy a Skyhook at a planet which contains another corporation's customs office, they will need to destroy the customs office before they deploy their own Skyhook. Pirate Asteroid Belt NPCs can show up at Skyhooks. Okay, so that's just normal Asteroid NPCs at Skyhooks. Blueprint originals for the Skyhook can be obtained at Upwell Consortium Corporation member NPC stations for ISK costing 5.5 billion ISK. So it's like Zor, Yitri, a whole bunch of them. Eifer and Co. Is there anything to see here? Nothing that we haven't already seen. It will cost 1 structure component part, 2 structure storage bay, 1 structure reprocessing plant, 1 structure office carrier or center, and 2 structure acceleration coils. So this is different than the stuff that it takes to build. Well, I don't know if it's actually different, but it's not the exact same way as making Pocos. I think it uses a lot of the same PI to make it, though. Is that to allow officer spawns? We're getting there. Sovereignty Hub. The new modular structure that is dedicated to governing a star system and the colonies of infrastructure it contains. The Sovereignty Hub will be the center of operations for the Capsular Alliances for the control of null-sec systems. The Sovereignty Hub is placed around the star system and is in the central location for the installing and managing of sovereignty upgrades. Authorized Capsuleers can interact with the Sovereignty Hub to allocate colony resources and installed upgrades. On expansion day, all existing infrastructure hubs will be replaced by the new Sov Hub graphics, name, and description, and their location will be automatically moved to 2 million kilometers from the sun. Some people were complaining potentially preemptively that this is going to be like blinding people. And so CCP Swift posted this picture as an example of what it will likely look like. So it's going to be near enough to the sun to see how cool the sun looks, but not enough for it to be overwhelming. Where are we? Oh no, where'd it go? Territorial claim units. TCUs will continue to represent the legacy claim in the system that hasn't yet a sovereignty hub deployed or where iHub hasn't yet transitioned. New TCUs can no longer be deployed or captured if they were previously deployed but not captured. Any ongoing TCU campaigns will be canceled. TCUs can no longer be targeted by Entosis, so cannot be used to remove a claim. Instead, an attacker must usurp the claim by capturing the sovereignty hub in the system. So basically, TCUs are effectively being turned off. Ever since the new sovereignty system was made, there's always been kind of this difference between the iHub upgrades and who owns the iHub and who owns the TCU, which is like this what the system thinks, who the system thinks owns it. And this can often be different because, you know, destroying the iHub and putting your own in is really important to get the upgrades up and running. But the TCU is often less important. And so there's a lot of examples where these two are disparate from each other. And so this is basically taking those out of play, saying like, okay, they're all going to stay the same until the sovereignty hub either gets changed over. Well, until the sovereignty hub gets changed over, either by the person pressing the button or another person destroying the sovereignty hub that is there and putting up their own, which will automatically convert it over to the new system. Sovereignty upgrades provided their primary use for new colony resources, power, workforce, and reagents. As colony resources are required to online these upgrades, all of the sovereignty upgrade BPOs for the Sov Hub in the new sovereignty mode will be available for purchase on the market on expansion day and can be built ahead of time. They will not, however, be able to be installed or function until the Sov transition is enabled on the 20th of June, 2024. So that's another big piece to this. We get the entire expansion on the 11th, but a big piece, the gunshot, the go on your mark, get set, go, doesn't happen until the 20th. So everybody gets about 9 days to get their ducks in a row after the patch is live before the sovereignty transitions can begin and all that stuff. So we'll talk about that when we get there. Okay, infrastructure upgrades. Super capital construction facilities. Allows construction of super capital ships. Advanced logistical networks. Allows Insilivix jump gate service modules to be put online. Sinusoidal suppression allows Tenebrix sinojammers. Sinusoidal navigation allows sino beacons. Those are the basic ones. The thing that's important to note here is that A, this means that these things can be online near immediately as soon as you get these things online, get all of your infrastructure in play, because you no longer need ADMs in order to upgrade these things. However, these are also likely going to be very expensive upgrades. So remember, a system has a hard cap in power. So there's going to be a lot of systems that can support super capital construction or sinusoidal suppression, but not both, for example. So that's going to potentially make some systems less valuable than they were before. Maybe some systems more valuable than they were before. New mining sites that prospecting arrays can provide. Wait, hold on. Is it? No, that's the next thing. PvE upgrades. Minor threat detection arrays 1 through 3, and major threat detection array 1 through 3. Detects combat anomalies containing hostiles of moderate strength. Hostiles of modest strength. This variant has a faster detection capability for new anomalies compared to the base version. This variant has faster detection capabilities for new anomalies compared to the base and upgraded versions. So not only do they upgrade, so like this is like high sec rats, and then this is maybe like closer to like den or even low sec level rats. And then there's for the null sec, tough hostiles is the entire time. So it's not upgraded. Like this is just all the null sec rats, tier 1, 2, and 3. And so this is going to control how many of those sites spawn or how fast those sites spawn in those systems. Now, this is going to be important. We're going to look at how those sites work, but this is going to be for the spawning of current like sanctums and anoms as well as the newer stuff that's coming. Then the different prospecting arrays, you've got tritanium, isogen, noxium, zydrine. So you've got all the different material types, but they're only tier 1, right? So these are going to spawn extra belts for these different materials, right? Then these we get a little bit more information down below, which is that these prospecting arrays function by spawning these new belts. Belstar deposit, Mordunium deposit, Crylixium deposit, all these different ones, right? Which have the different material in them. Okay, so these are new ore deposits with new, and they do not require new skills to mine because they will be just like the current AO Blue Star ore, which you can see at least one of them is that. What was I saying? The corresponding crystal that usually controls that area of space will apply to it. So like if you're getting a nullsec material, then it will take a nullsec, or if you're using high, like the one Feldspar obviously takes common, the pyrite one will take the common, so on and so forth. The isogen one will take the corrugated or whatever, the one that normally gives you isogen. So it doesn't require new skills, even though they are new ore. Any rate, the next thing is undiscovered asteroid belt escalations. Now, this is the first point in which I complain about the fact that throughout this this patch notes, we get a lot of information. It's huge. There's so much information, but there's so much missing in the details, right? How big are these deposits? How much does it take to mine these out? And these become important. Well, no, because like this is the idea is that they're detecting ore that was already there, just better, effectively. This isn't really replacing TrueSec concepts because TrueSec still exists, but this is replacing the ADM system. Now, how this interacts with TrueSec, But yeah, it could completely replace the value of TrueSec. I don't know. Either way, I don't know. So, undiscovered asteroid belt escalation. Additionally, players completing any of the above asteroid belts have a small chance to get their first ever mining escalation. This site contains massive amounts of all types of ore. So basically, these deposits will spawn in the system. Like you set up, like, I want isogen in this system, and the Grimir deposits will spawn in that system. When you finish mining out one of them, in the same way that combat anomaly will escalate when you're finished with one of them, so too that this could provide an escalation to maybe the person that mines the last piece of the last rock or whatever. And that procs an escalation that you and your buddies, or just you if you want, can go and mine. And that site has ore of all the different kinds. So you can pick and choose, you can mine it all, whatever. But it requires these prospecting arrays. So this is nullsec only, or sovereignty nullsec only escalations, all right? That's why the question of, like, how big are these deposits going to be? Like, is this something that an individual is expected to do? Or is this something that, like, a big, like, is it a lot of ore that a bunch of people are going to be there, and then, like, one person gets the, happens to get the escalation? Because now I'm going to see people already short cycle their ore to try to crack the last rock before everybody else, when everybody's mining the last rock. This just makes it even more like, oh my God, if I'm the last person, I'm the one that can get the escalation. So I hope these are, like, more individual or maybe small group level amounts of ore that, like, continually respawn. But either way. In addition to this, we have Forsaken Sanctum. A set of new, more challenging and rewarding combat anomalies have been added and are exclusively available through the major threat detection array system upgrades in the Sovereignty Hub. So I think that's all three of the tiers. These sites are known as Forsaken Sanctums for the main pirate factions, and teeming drone hordes for the rogue drones. And that follows the standard naming convention where you have, hideaways, dens, rally points, and hubs can be hidden, forsaken, or forlorn as escalating difficulty. Now Sanctums will also be able to escalate, or have a more challenging version of them. These new sites include larger numbers of higher difficulty NPCs than the existing Sanctums and drone horde anomalies, and some of the new NPCs will shoot at drones and fighters more readily than NPCs in existing nullsec combat anomalies. These sites are especially well suited to be defeated by capsulators fighting battleships and marauders. And new escalation sites that can spawn from combat anomalies. A combat site where a player will encounter a pirate shielded starbase, pirate capital ship fleet, guaranteed faction spawn, and guaranteed officer spawn. So this is pretty intense, but let's look at them closely. What this is saying is that in a system, I believe there's some of this, I'm making a big jump, an assumption that saying that I'm assuming that this is related to the major combat array because it's in the same section. I don't know if this means that it'll only spawn from Forsaken Sanctums that was kind of alluded to before. I assume it's going to either only spawn from a Forsaken Sanctums or from any combat anomalies in a system within a major array, just because of the way that it was worded. Hold on. Nope. Doesn't say anything there. Either way. So, and then the point is, right, I assume Forsaken only, but it doesn't quite say that, so I'm not gonna say it definitively. So pirate shielded starbase, pirate capital ship fleet. So the thing is that does this mean that everybody's going to get a guaranteed officer spawn? Does this mean that you can guarantee an officer spawn? No. What this is saying is that you will get an escalation, and that escalation will tell you what is there, right? So right now, an officer is an extraordinarily rare thing to spawn in a site or in a belt or whatever. And what this is saying is that, like, rather than, because, like, the problem with very rare things is it's hard to have a whole group of people to come together. So how do you have a thing like an officer that you want to be a big thing for, like, a group of people, maybe even, or like, even if it's just the individual to go and do? Like, one of the big flaws of officer ratting is, like, once you catch the fish, can you even reel the thing in, right? So this helps fix that problem where it's like, no, here's your officer spawn. It's right here. Go get your friends. Go get your favorite toys. Go get whatever you need. Here it is. You've got 24 hours, right? That's really cool. But most of the time, you're just going to get either a normal escalation or you're going to get pirated, shielded star bases, pirate capital fleet ships, and guaranteed faction spawns, which is the equivalent of like a dread spawning, a carrier spawning. Well, actually, I guess this is the dread spawning, the faction dread spawning, and the officer spawning, right? So, yeah, attack site seems really odd, but I don't know, whatever. It seems, it is also, the verbiage is really weird. A combat site where a player will encounter an angel attack site. But I hope it says, like, and also a combat site where a player will encounter a guaranteed officer spawn. I don't like either of those verbiages. I don't know which one I hate more, but hopefully they have a better one. So here we can see like the shielded sites, and they don't give us very much information about what these sites are going to be like, but they do show dreads doing them. For an in-depth explanation of the Sovereignty Hub transition, we have another dev blog. Yes. Sovereignty Hub capabilities grow as upgrades are added for coordinating defense, industry, resources, and logistics. Each dedicated upgrade requires a mix of colony resources in the form of workforce, power, and reagents, and apart from these base power generated from the stellar flux, these must be provided by planetary exploitation through the new orbital skyhooks. The Sovereignty Hub will generate some amount of power. Yes. Okay, great. Plan for 20th. Once the Alliance has deployed a new Sovereignty Hub in Sovereignty Hub mode or chosen to transition their Sovereignty Hub from iHub mode to Sovereignty Hub mode, they are then able to install the new upgrades listed above. Right. So remember, they have until November to do this. Upgrades cannot be installed if the energy cost of the installed upgrades, regardless of state, would exceed the potential energy which the system could produce, assuming all planets had skyhooks installed. So there's a hard cap to this system. It knows there's a hard cap to the system. It won't let you even install more than the hard cap, which is probably good because they cost money to build. Upgrades can be prioritized. Caps leaders with the appropriate roles can do this. Higher priority upgrades are served first for available colony resources, energy, population, and consumables. This gives the player control over which upgrades go offline first in case of resource shortfall, when all installed upgrades do not have the necessary resources to run. An example where a shortfall could happen is when a skyhook being destroyed. Yeah, taking down, like reinforcing and destroying a skyhook. I assume that skyhooks function until they're completely destroyed. We'll see. But taking down a power skyhook can be devastating to the facilities. Metenox moon drills. Another deployable structure being introduced is the Metenox moon drill, fueled in part by fuel blocks and also by magmatic gas harvested by lava planets. This structure can be deployed at moon mining points in low-sec, null-sec, and wormhole space. The Metenox will be less efficient. Why is lava seems so much more valuable? There's so many more bigger things that take magmatic gas. Interesting. The structure can be deployed at moon mining points in low-sec, null-sec, and wormhole space. The Metenox is less efficient than manual extraction by Athenor Tatara, but instead will slowly collect resources obtained by mining and refining moon ores over time. So it automatically refines them at a rate of 40% efficiency. So it just spits out the materials. Players who can control who can access the moon materials it harvests with an ACL. The Metenox moon drill is a unique reinforcement flow. Once it has been deployed, the Metenox will not have an automatic repair like other Upwell structures. Instead, players will need to manually repair the shield and armor if it gets attacked. The Metenox have a single reinforcement cycle in hull. Once it leaves the reinforcement, it will need to be repaired 100% to shields or 100% to armor in order to fully repair itself and gain the reinforcement cycle back and be able to have the service module turned on again. The Metenox does not have a damage cap like other Upwell structures, and instead behaves a lot more like an old moon mining POS prior to Lifeblood expansion. It has a million shield HP, 4 million when in high power, 75% resist, and 1 million armor HP with 4 million in high power at 75% resist, or at 75% resist. And then hull is 24 million HP at 0% resist. Remember, the hull is a timer in and of itself. So basically, it'll take just about as much time to do the shield and armor as it does the hull, more likely than not. Yes, you will need to logi it in order to repair it. I Yes, you can steal reagents, but reagents aren't necessarily as necessary for ongoing things. Taking down power, like everybody's going to have their services capped to power, right? So taking down the power will shut something down, is what I'm saying. About to see drill faxes being a thing. Yeah, it's true. So this is another example of like what I'm kind of lost on, because there's so much information, but yet the details are missing. Maybe is it here? Hold on. Metenox. Nope, it doesn't talk about it here. They don't actually mention how long the reinforcement timer of a Metenox moon drill is on this at all. They said something like 3 hours, if I remember correctly, on the video, but like that seems like a big thing to not leave on here. But so the Metenox provides no defenses, weaponry, or tether ability. Only a single Metenox, Athen, or Tatara can be at the same moon mining beacon at one time. If a Metenox is reinforced, the moon materials it has in the moon mining hangar is trapped and will be dropped as loot when it's destroyed. Metenox moon drills will require an integrated moon drill armature to be built and will always drop it at 100% rate. This functions as a built-in Upwell quantum core. The cost of the core is 300 million ISK in Upwell Consortium member stations. The Metenox moon drill blueprint is available from Upwell member NPC stations for 6 billion ISK. So 6 billion ISK for the BPO. These are going to be hefty boys to build, and they take 3 structure construction parts, 1 structure storage bay, 1 structure reprocessing plant, 1 structure office center, and 1 integrated moon drill armature, which is very similar to the Skyhook, right? Yeah, more construction parts, basically the same number of parts, but more, but one of the storage bays and the acceleration coil. Well, same number, but shifted around a little bit. New Upwell haulers and freighters. As part of the Equinox expansion, 4 new Upwell-themed industrial ships are being released. These include a hauler, 2 additional tech-through hauler variants, and a blockade runner and deep space transport, as well as capital-sized freighters. These ships feature a brand new infrastructure hold, high amounts of missile firepower for their size, and above-average speed. So the thing is that we also still don't get any of the manufacturing costs for any of these ships here, which is kind of wild because we still don't know. They mentioned that there'd be new parts that had to be built in order to get the T2 ships, but there's no mention of that at all in these patch notes. So the Squall, we talked about all these before, but we've got the 10% bonus to infrastructure hull capacity and 20% to missile damage per level, and have the normal roll bonuses. And it can link to orbital Skyhook reagent silos by bypassing the normal ship restrictions. I think that's probably going to be true with all haulers, because that's what roll bonuses mean usually. So the Deluge is the covert ops one, right? Yeah. Yeah. So it gets the bonus to hold capacity and 15% less, smaller bonus to missile damage. It's got an increase to warp speed and warp acceleration, and reduction in cloaking devices CPU requirement. It can fit the covert ops. It's, all the normal blockade runner stuff. Then we have the deep space transport, which is the Torrent, which is the larger missile bonus, and it has the overheat bonus to afterburners, microwarp drives, local repair modules, resistance modules, Nosferatu modules, and energy neutralizers, which is pretty cool. Increased resistances. It's going to be literally a combat hauler. It's pretty cool. I'm excited about it. And of course, the Avalanche, which got everybody really excited. The 10% bonus to infrastructure and then missile damage, and then also auto-targeting missile damage. This is why the Avalanche has been really exciting to a lot of people, is that, it has battleship-sized damage, but it's only battleship-sized damage for auto-targeting missiles. Otherwise, it loses this it loses half of its damage, basically. So keep that in mind. In addition to that, like these are auto-targeting missiles, which the damage can be controlled by the attacker by having other, multiple ships and, controlling who's closest, because the auto-targeting missiles will always fire at closest things. And the big thing to keep in mind is that while the infrastructure hold is gargantuan, the freighter itself, its standard hull is significantly smaller than a normal freighter. So unless you're hauling a lot of PI or fuel blocks specifically or something like that, or Upwell structures, the people that want to haul massive amounts of minerals, especially or ore, are going to want to prefer the traditional freighters for their major storage capacity. I have not, Satonia. I did have a question if you wanted to clarify, because there's some missing pieces here. Do we know the Metenox Moondrill's reinforcement timers? And do we have any idea about the build costs for the T2 hauler? And which anomalies can spawn the escalations? Is it only the Forsaken Sanctum, or is it any anomalies in the major threat detection array system? 1 to 25 hour reinforcement. Okay, got it. So it's the same as the Flex? Got it. Okay. And Skyhooks continue to operate until they explode, right? And what are the reinforcement timers on the Skyhook? Okay, let's the infrastructure hold will only do structures, flex structures. Oh, Satonia, look at this. This should say Upwell related structures such as, such as, but they only list citadels, not like engineering complexes and refineries, as if like citadels is one class of ship or a structure, and flex structures are a second type of structure. And everybody always confuses the words structure and citadel. All right. Yeah. Oh, got it. Yep. Okay. So, skill requirements. We are adding 3 new skill requirements to Upwell hauling ships. Upwell haulers, which is a ×4 skill, 2 million ISK at Upwell Consortium member corporations. Upwell freighters, 80 million ISK at an Upwell Consortium member corporation station. Upwell Starship Engineering ×5, which is 10 million ISK and 15,000 LP at Faction Warfare Empire Militia LP stores. And Upwell haulers is required to fly the Squall Tech 1 hauler, and level 1 needs to be trained to 5 for the Tech 2, standard affair. Upwell freighter is required for the Avalanche freighter. Upwell Starship Engineering is required to invent the Squall into its Tech 2. Basic stuff. Balance changes. Okay. This is where we got into exciting things for the day. Carriers have been struggling to find a healthy spot in the ecosystem for quite a while now. They're incredibly powerful in the past, and when they had godlike application that made them the best option to bring over other subcapital counters. And it was better to bring a carrier than to, and it was often better to bring a carrier to counter a group of frigates rather than destroyers or rapid light cruisers, etc. After the application nerf and adjustments to the cost of capital ships, they've struggled because they don't have a well-defined role. Revamped Marauders and Dreadnaughts have made those the superior PvE options for crab beacons and Haven Sanctum ratting, and the better choice for PvP when it comes to fighting both subcapitals and capitals, pushing carriers out of the meta. Our aim here is to give a more defined role and platform that specializes in fleet troop transport and the shaping the battlefield through powerful positioning tools. Carriers will now have the capability of using a conduit jump to jump 5 to 30 players in the jump tunnel with them. The number of players or passengers for the jump is increased with the new skill, Capital Jump Portal Generation, which increases the limit by 5 per level. This is built into carriers and does not require a module to be fitted. Prerequisite will be Jump Portal Generation 5 with a training multiplier of 14 times. Purchase locations will be the standard at Empire schools for the price of 250 million. So this is huge. So basically, where a Titan can now, at the moment, bridge people to a Sino, and Black Ops can both bridge and conduit jump covert ops ships to a Sino. and a rock wall can conduit jump and bridge, I think, mining ships to an industrial sino. Now carriers can bring ships with them in a conduit jump, so effectively filling much of the same role as a Titan would. The big difference here, though, is that that carrier has to be committed to the field, right? The big strength of the Titan is that it can project from a distance and doesn't actually commit itself to the field, which is incredibly powerful as far as like logistics and, you know, from a strategic value kind of thing goes. But it's always been a problem that this utility has been tied up in Titans and only Titans. This is one of the reasons why I've complained long and hard about Titans being available in low sec, because it makes it a huge difference between groups that have Titans and groups that don't have Titans, even in low sec, even though low sec people can't build Titans. And that's always been the biggest problem, is that you require a Titan in order to operate at its highest levels in this space, even though you do not have the capacity to actually build them. So, you know, I've long asked for the idea of like the world arc that commits itself and then opens up a gateway for people to come through. But with the conduit jump, you have a much simpler, straightforward solution that has been well known for other things, which basically makes the carrier into kind of the cheaper but more riskier solution for a group that can't really afford, you know, 100 billion ISK for a Titan, but can afford 3 billion ISK to throw away for a carrier. So I think this is a really smart idea. I would have never have thought they would have actually just given it to carriers. This sounds really much like something that they would give to super carriers. But this is very exciting. And they definitely buried the lead and saved it for the directors to be able to bring up. It'll be funny to see how many AT ships die due to being conduit jumped off keep stars in nullsec. You can't, Suetonia, you wouldn't be able to conduit jump them if they're tethered, though. You'd have to bounce them off first, right? I mean, I assume that tethering doesn't, this doesn't go through tether. That would be redonkulous. All right. Ships with, so you can conduit jump. Yes, you can conduit jump tethered member. Wait. Okay. Okay, so we're talking about conduit jump. So everybody can be tethered. Is there any other rules? Like, do they have to be within a certain radius of the carrier? Is it the 10 kilometers? Does all of the ships that's going need to be within 10 kilometers too? And then you can just yeet somebody away? No way. All right. It's going to have to be the range. Well, they mentioned 10 kilometers on the stream for the conduit, for the micro jump field generator, so I didn't know. Yeah, the conduit jump, though. Is the conduit jump 6 feet or 10 feet or what? It doesn't say either way. I don't know what the rules for conduit jumping is off the top of my head. Capital micro jump drives and capital micro jump field generators carriers will be able to gain the ability to fit new capital sized versions of the micro jump drive and micro jump field generator. Both of these modules will require a new skill, capital micro jump drive operations. People kidnap marshals like this all the time with blops. Just need to get them in their fleet. Oh, okay. This is exciting. I'm also terrified now as a marshal pilot. All right. This can move ships which are in... Okay, so hold on. The capital micro jump field generator will jump a carrier and 50 extra subcapitals and up to 4 capitals. Capitals are counted separately to subcapitals. 250 kilometers in whatever direction this is facing. So this is important for a couple of reasons. One, this limit is larger than the normal limit. This is 54 total ships, including... So you get 4... Let's say 4 jumping carriers, right? And a whole bunch of ravens. You're doing the jumpy raven thing. So you can have up to 50 ravens in this fleet. along with your 4 carriers, and that operates. That's already pretty big. That's twice as many as the current jump, command destroyers can do. But also, it's 250 kilometers in a direction, which is 2.5 times 100 kilometers. But more importantly, 100 kilometers is a really important number because the maximum warp distance is 150. So by jumping you to 100, you kind of put the person at a very odd position to be able to warp back to where they're supposed to be. 250 kilometers is within warp range of everything else. So, you know, if you jump somebody and like their fleet was behind, they could theoretically warp back to their fleet, just as a, for instance. I don't know how much this is going to impact things, but it is technically true that actually, no, what this means is that if the carrier, if somehow you get 2 carriers to spearfish a group, so it jumps in and then the second carrier finishes its spool and it jumps them off 500 kilometers, then those 2 carriers' friendly fleets can just warp to them. Actually, that also means that both fleets could theoretically warp to those jumped people. That's actually really, that's going to take some time to crunch through. Read the next line. Hold on. This move can move ships that are in siege, such as dreads, triage. Hold on. The capital micro jump field generators will jump a carrier. Oh, no. Okay. This can move ships that are in siege, such as siege dreads, triage, and mode, faxes, and roquals with cores active. After the jump completes, all ships moved by the jump are scrammed for 5 seconds and are unable to be moved again by micro jump drive, micro jump field generator until the effect expires. So spearfishing is a bit more challenging. I understand, Satonia. Doesn't mean it's impossible, especially with siege dreads or faxes. Both modules can be stopped by a warp scrambler and heavy interdiction or warp disruptor field generators. The network sensor array will block the activation of a micro jump drive and micro field generator module by the ship it is activated on. A carrier may still be moved by another ship using those things while the NSA is so if you have the network sensor array on, which is another carrier module, then you can't activate your micro jump drive or micro jump field generator. However, you can still be moved by one. So, yeah. I do like the idea that it does scram everybody for 5 seconds. It also shuts off everybody's micro warp drive then, which is kind of cool. Carrier conduits should also outrange Titan bridges. Is that true? Can carriers jump further than Titans? I don't actually know. The skill books are located. Oh yeah, the skill books are located in all Empire school stations and can be purchased from the character sheet directly. Cost 250 million ISK for Empire school stations, or 325 million ISK from the character sheet. Blueprints for both new modules will be found in data sites. Carriers jump 7 light years. Titan 6 light years. Ooh. New possibilities. There's the boosh. Excuse me. That's cool. 12 new faction and light supporter. 12 new faction light and support fighters have been added to the game. Navy faction fighters feature significantly higher hit points than Tech 1 and Tech 2 fighters, but have slightly lower firepower and E-War strength than Tech 2 fighters. Blueprint copies for the fighters can be found exclusively in Empire Factional Warfare at Militia LP stores. So, they are 150,000 LP and 150 million ISK from all the different kinds. And then, well, the Templar, Dragonfly, Furbolg, and Inhiri is 150. The Equite, Locust, Satyr, and Graham is 180,000 LP and million ISK. And the Cenobite, Scarab, Siren, and Dromi, which are the support, I'm pretty sure, are 100,000 and 100 million. Targeted Doomsday weapons by Titans have had their damage increased by double, basically. It goes from 1.5 to 3 million damage. So go punch things. The luxury yacht has seen some abuses as a nigh uncatchable wormhole rolling ship. We aim to remove it as a viable roller with the following changes: power grid reduced from 300 to 100, mass reduced from 10 million to 1 million, agility adjusted from 0.4 to 4.0 to keep alignment time the same as after these changes. That's pretty funny. So it's still going to function the same as before, but it's got not enough power grid to do the fancy stuff. And it's definitely not got the mass to do it anymore, but it'll still be just as agile effectively as it was before because its agility has been amplified by the same amount as the mass has been reduced. Or sorry, the agility has been, align time will be the same. That's what it's trying to say. Auto-targeting missiles. Yachts can go through frigate wormholes now too, though. That's interesting. With Avalanche having a heavy focus on auto-targeting missiles, the faction variants of existing auto-targeting missiles have been renamed Legion auto-targeting missiles and are now obtainable through Morta's Legion LP store for LP and IS cost of the existing missiles of the same size. Now, faction warfare and insurgency balances. The FOB spawning rules have been adjusted so that FOBs are more likely to be placed in command operation systems adjacent to front lines rather than in the rearguard solar systems of winning factions. So this is about insurgencies. The FOB is the heart of the insurgency, and it kind of crawls out from there. Previously, the goal was like, or the AI that selected where the insurgencies was told to prioritize the rearguard systems of the current winning faction, right? And I think that the idea was to create areas of absolute chaos within the backlines. Right? Because when an insurgency is over, then the system is made vulnerable, which means if the enemy was able to capitalize on this, they could flip the system real quick right after the insurgency ends. And in fact, I believe recently that exact thing happened in the Amar Mimitar war zone, if I recall correctly, like within the last week. So that was its original intent. However, it is true that a lot of the problems that I complained about in my video like a week or two ago when I was talking about insurgencies, a lot of it's magnified by the fact that it is in the rearguard systems, because the rearguard systems really is the place for farmers, right? Like I've always said, the way, cockroaches avoid the sunlight. So, the frontline systems are the systems where the activity is. That's where the rewards are. That's where the people are. That's where human beings are there to fight over it because it's being contested, right? The rearguard systems, that's why they're so unrewarding, is because they're supposed to be kind of this backdrop that nobody really cares about. So if you plex there for very much, you won't be harassed very much, which means it makes it a really good place for people that are just going to be farming for LP, especially in the older system when there wasn't front lines and everything, and all of the systems were kind of created equal in that regard. The systems that were not the hotspot zones would be the ones that got infested by LP farmers and whatnot. So effectively, they're putting us in the insurgencies in the very places where the actual people that care about the faction warfare mechanics aren't really paying attention to. So now they're fixing that. So it's not going to be the frontline system per se, which is the most contested system. It's going to be the command outpost, which is the system supporting the frontline system. And I think this is brilliant because let me tell you, when it comes to these kinds of sieges, I've seen this now for like the last year or two as we've been going through this. Those command operation systems are critical, and they are the ones that are the most interesting to get knocked over because of the way that advantage works in faction warfare space. So advantage controls how much effect any given effort on one side or the other does in a system. So if one side has maximized their advantage and the other side has their advantage wiped out, and they both finish one plex, the person who has the high advantage will actually make significant progress over the side, the amount that it gets reduced, or the change that is made by the other guy. So all things being equal, the side with the advantage just wins if they just trade sites 1-to-1, right? This is a big deal, especially when you're talking about time zones, because when you can take over a system, when you're fighting over a system, this isn't about individual plexes. This is about all of the plexes in the system, because each plex represents a little bit of effort in the meta fight one way or another. So what this means is that when you can control the system, it's about taking control of the system and then running the system. You have to make sure every single site is ran as fast as possible, so that way it can get respawned as fast as possible. And you know that, like, this might be a window of opportunity. There's going to be a lot of times there'll be like one time zone that your side is stronger on, one time zone the other side's stronger on, or maybe your fleet is only going to do it for a few hours. You have control over the system. How much work can you get done in this 3 hours? There's many cases where, like, the Caldari would be able to push us back down during their playtime when we couldn't contest them as easily, all of the work that we do on any given day. And it was a big problem because we didn't have good time zone coverage. So advantage amplifies this significantly. If you can have advantage, a siege will go your direction effectively in the long run. And so especially these sieges of some of these larger, most contested systems, it's because they're connected to a whole bunch of other systems. And then both sides are getting advantage in the home system based on the contested values they're in. So the fact that on top of that, you now have this insurgency that's bleeding into the front lines, covering the front lines, but also risking the disruption of a critical backline support infrastructure for the enemy, and potentially shifting the balance of power over on the frontline system. Like that can be big. Even as soon as the invading forces or the insurgency forces win, because that contested system, or because that system is taken off the field, that should make it no longer a command operations post for that, for that owner, which means it's no longer going to give advantage through the advantage system to the adjacent system. That alone, I mean, that can already be a big difference, because you got to remember that in a lot of these cases, in these systems that are at their highest level of contention, both of their advantage are slammed to 100%, right? Both teams are doing everything they need to in order to keep their advantage at as near to 100% as possible, and supporting that. So effectively, that means when both people are at 100% advantage, then they both have no advantage. So if you have an inherent advantage because of adjacent command outposts, that goes on top of the bonus that you already have. So I'm not wrong, right? I just realized that I think I might be crazy. That might just mean it's less work, right? Does it go to 130%, or do you only have to get to 70% if there's 30? I think, never mind. I think it doesn't, it doesn't overlap. So it just makes it easier. I'm pretty sure. It makes it so that your advantage is unassailable. All right. So let's move on. The aim of this change is to try to promote more fighting and less farming in the backlines by having it to choose locations, the FOB, in a location where the current faction warfare militias are duking it out. It also makes the FOB solar systems more relevant to current militia group campaigns and concentrations of PvP opportunities in faction warfare's low sec. The other thing is that here's the thing. Command operation systems and the systems nearby there are the systems that a lot of like smaller groups or individuals that are trying to fight, that's where they prowl, because front lines are where the big fights are going. And then, the smaller groups are trying to get their reward in the slightly less rewarding, but currently good command outposts. And so this is going to put our sites in the same system. And, they'll give us some good fights. And if I remember correctly, the current FOB is next to a faction war, a front line. If I remember correctly, that improvement is already, relevant. Like, we've had a lot more luck in this last insurgency. All right, let's go, because it keeps on going. Small Navy 1 complexes are no longer static guaranteed respawns in a rearguard, command operations, and frontline solar systems. That's all the systems. And now will roam instead. In their place, medium advanced 1 complexes will now be the static and will always be one guaranteed, assuming it hasn't been completed recently. This is huge. This is crazy. I'm not... As a faction warfare pilot, this changes the calculus by a very strange amount. So, okay. Small complexes are where like destroyers and because this so this is not so there's scout, right? So there's scouts. The frigates are going to still be there, right? But the smalls are not, or at least the small Navy 1 won't. All right. So let me explain. In faction warfare, in a system, there is a certain number of sites, right? Some of them, there will be, much like wormholes, right? In a wormhole system, there's going to be static wormholes, but then there can also be roaming wormholes, right? So, each system will have its predetermined number of statics. Like a C2 will have 2 statics, and there will be a certain number of roaming wormholes in existence at any given time. So there'll be a certain number of connections between C4s and C4s at any given time. But when one closes, where it respawns can be anywhere within the qualifying system. So they roam around, right? Cool. Same thing, but for plexes. A lot of the plexes are just basic, and they respawn in 30 minutes. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying, like, the longer you can control the system, you want to run the sites as fast as possible because that puts them back into the hopper so they can respawn, and they generally respawn within 30 minutes. There is a certain number of sites that spawn no matter what in all of the different sites, in all the different systems. However, there's a bunch of sites that wander within the systems. And for the most part, it's like the advanced sites especially are the ones that are known to be wandering. Advanced are important because those are the ones that allow T2. So most of the static sites, if I remember correctly, are the Navy ones, which means that none of the T2 ships, none of the pirate ships are allowed to go in there. So this change is doing 2 things, really critical. One, it's removing the destroyers as being so valuable in faction warfare. Like this, so you bring a frigate because you can run every tier of faction warfare site. You bring a destroyer because it can run everything besides the scouts, but still has the firepower to potentially break and run even the harder tier sites, like the larges or whatever, depending on your build, or at least the mediums, if you want to solo them. And you bring a cruiser and above if you're being fancy like that, right? So there's still the value in bringing a frigate because then you will have sites to run that only your type of ship can run, right? And a Navy frigate ship, if you're in a normal, like a Comet, like scouts, Navy scouts are perfect for you. There are no advanced scouts. So then you get up to smalls, and smalls are, so the small navies are now going to be taken out of rotation, and that's now going to be a randomly spawning one. So you'll still get them, but you won't guarantee to have them in any given system. They'll pop up every once in a while, as opposed to something that you set a timer to, literally. But instead, you're going to get a medium advanced one, which is by far the most dangerous plex in all of plexes, because medium advanced 1 is the point in which you can now get recons, right? Curses, shit, I can't remember. The four recons that are immune to D-scan, as opposed to the 4 that can be scoped, or cloaked. The biggest one, of course, being the curse. So now there is a site that respawns every 30 minutes in any given system that will allow for recons. Rook, Hugin, Curse, and Lachesis. Thank you. It also allows pirate ships, right? All your pirate cruisers and pirate destroyers can now go into these as well. T3 is still not allowed, But what this means is that for those who want to just run around in one of these ships, which is kind of a fun thing to do, congratulations, you know, you can now like go out there in a hack and actually expect to find enough sites to be interesting, right? Between all of the normal advanced sites that you can do, the stuff outside of sites you can do, and these now respawning medium advanced, like, it is not a bad idea to just go out there in a hack or in an Orthrus or whatever now. Are trig ships allowed? Yes, everything is allowed in an advanced site. Everything besides T3. So, yeah, Icky Tursa. Advanced 5 would be better. Well, yeah, but you don't want to... That's not necessarily good for the one... Like, the advanced 5s are the ones that you want... Those are wandering. Right? The other fun thing is that with an advanced 1, if you descan it and you see one person in it, that doesn't mean that there's not 5 people in it and there are a bunch of curses and stuff. I think that it being an advanced 1 is actually really, really clever, like in particular. Just because it's like, oh, look, there's someone alone in an advanced 1. Let's go in. Ah, it burns, it burns, it burns. All right. The aim here is to promote a little more diversity and help make bigger ships types the more relevant faction warfare system control over time. It also makes it a bit easier to decontest rearguard solar systems. Yeah, you can just get, like I said, you can just go out there and hack and run around and just punk everybody. Faction warfare battlefield NPCs will now spawn more slowly between waves and will orbit the capture points much closer than before. So yeah, the big problem with this is that the NPC rats that spawn contest the plex, when you go into a battlefield, there's 3 different sites. And they're about 150 kilometers away from each other. And they all spawn rats in them that warp onto them. But while they're in the capture radius, they contest the site. When they're outside of the capture radius, they don't contest the site. They also respawn pretty quickly. So by the time you kill them, you get like maybe 1 or 2 cycles of the thing. Because you have to get them out of the site, and then it spins the timer. And every time it goes around, you get some progression for the entire site. So the goal is to keep all 3 timers spinning the entire time to finish the battlefield quickly. But the issue is that killing the rats, they respawn fast enough that it's actually not really productive to kill the rats. Instead, it's better to lure them out or push them out of the plex, so that way, because they naturally orbit outside of the plex range if you kill everything besides the battlecruiser. It just so happens the battlecruiser orbits outside of the range, so this pushes them out. So everybody just does that, lets the 1 rat orbit them, and the timers just tick by. So this is the change. Now the rats will contest the site. It's going to be way harder to make it so they're not contesting the site, but they will take longer to spawn between waves. So hopefully this makes it more about getting in there and killing the rats instead of getting in there with 3 things that can tank the rats and just, I'm on the plex, you know, whatever. So cool. Our intention here is to make killing the NPCs the optimal path to progression on capture points rather than keeping a single battlecruiser NPC alive outside the capture point. Added a new faction command mine link, which gives a bonus to information and skirmish command bursts. Guri Malcolm command mine link. It is available in the Commando Guri and Malcolm Zealot LP stores, which are located in Zarzak and the Insurgency FOBs. Cost is identical to other faction command mine links at 100,000 LP, 1 million, 100 million ISK, and 1 skirmish command mine link, and 1 information command mine link. Oh my God, I want it so bad. I'm so like, this is odd. I can't believe this is buried in here. Yeah. So we get a new mind link that is going to be skirmish and information, as opposed to like the Empires, which are like armor, shield, skirmish. Skirmish, shield, armor, information, etc., etc. It's a tank type and a command type, I guess. I don't know, skirmish or information. This is skirmish and information. Now there's no ships that have bonuses to both that I know of, none of the command ships, which means, well, the Draugr, right? This is great for the Draugr specifically. The Draugr has the bonuses, which tells me I need to renew my campaign. Guys, we need a T2 Drekavek command ship. More than anything. That's all I want. My birthday's in August. It's okay. You can get it. I'll even take it a little bit late or early, whichever. I need a T2 direct that does information and skirmish links. I leave the rest of the details to you. I think with that inspiration, you should be able to sort out the rest. Trig Marauders are fine, great, cool. I like that idea, but we already have this. The game needs a Trig command ship that does information and skirmish. It's a hole in the game, much like Deathless ships. I digress. Okay. Added new faction and officer variations of the signature radius suppression modules. Blueprints for these modules are exclusively obtained as rare drops from the Pirate Laundering Center reward crates. So this is to be the equivalent of, they introduced a bunch of new stuff for eating comm ships, mutaplasmids and faction and officer tuning systems and weapon Vortron guns for the people that are working for the anti-pirates and turning things into the various empires from killing Zohar and S3 rats in highly corrupted systems. We were just complaining the other day how there's not really that much reward for going after the consortium stuff. And so they're adding these in as suppression radius signature radius suppressors, which are a special module that are particularly outfitted for battleships to help make their signature radius smaller. And when activated, does it more like a bigger amount. These are particularly useful for marauders, if I remember correctly. But I've never really used them that much, but I think with all of this new usage of using marauders for sites and stuff, these could potentially be useful. Let me know if you're excited about these at all. But hopefully these gives us something to do when it comes to killing the consortium rats. But really what we need to do is get rewards for killing the non-consortium rats within those fleets too. What situation would you need a ship that have skirms and info? If you just have command ships, you'll need speed and web point links. Well, I think you just answered your own question, right? Also bring the Trig Hauler. There are already 3 versions. That's true. Info is only needed for larger fleets, and you'll have multiple command ships with all 3, or am I missing something here? Well, if I have a bunch of Drex, first of all, I just want a Drekvik command ship. Command ships are awesome. They're my favorite class of ship, okay? The information and skirmish are good for the Draugr. That's already what they use. Especially amongst Trig pilots, like a Trig fleet, I could definitely see where the ability, like the information warfare and skirmish could be useful. But then again, you're right. Armor would be useful too. But let me have my moment. Let me have my thing. I don't need to explain myself. I just want it. Okay. The Vendetta and Vehement. Blueprints for the Vendetta and Vehement have been updated to reduce their build material requirements and be closer to the other pirate faction capitals. I think we saw that a while back. But yeah, the Vehement and the Vendetta were some of the new first faction capitals to get put out, and they were a very, very special thing, and they were very, very costly to make. But now it kind of doesn't make sense with everything else, and so their build materials have been brought back down into normal levels of production costs. Now there are new graphics for bombs. Ooh, pretty. With void bombs being on the far right. Cool. Upwell citadels, namely the Athenor, Tatara, Raitu, Asbil, blah, blah, blah. All of the Upwell structures have new explosions. And the structure explosions have been made more visually enjoyable in tie-dye. All planets have received considerable graphics overhauls. Included in this past a resolution increase and rework of all planetary textures. Planet shader parameters have received updates, adding more vibrancy. Oh, man. I think I was complaining about this a while back. Back when they started putting stuff around planets during Uprising and stuff. I was like, the CCP, we should probably look at these. Looks like they agree. These planets look gorgeous. Look at that. I mean, it's partially because of how bad the old planets looked, but that's so cool looking. I think is that a shattered planet? Hold on. Wait. It is. This is a lava planet. This is a shattered planet. You can tell. All right. SKINR ship personalization. Paragon is proud to announce that capsuleers can now create fully customizable skins for their ship using SKINR. Express your identity in New Eden like never before as a new extension to SKINR unleashes a universe of possibility by empowering the creative capsuleers to design their own ship skins. Make each ship or fleet a declaration of your identity, explore a new career path, and strengthen the collective identity of your corporation or fleet. Through SKINR, the art of war takes on a new hue, allowing unparalleled expression of the identity of the theater of space. And I think we've probably seen this video before. SKINR looks really cool. One of the things I thought was really interesting is that the SKINR market is not going to be available until the 20th, which is sort of bizarre. They are really slow walking this feature out. The new SKINR interface can be accessed from anywhere in space. Getting bored with gate camping, sequencing a SKINR, sequence a new skin. Does your FC have you sitting in staging for too long? Design a new masterpiece. With the new SKINR, Paragon introduces a robust palette of design elements consisting of basic and metallic nano coatings, as well as patterns to pilots, across the universe. Each skin design includes 5 customization slots, 4 for nano coatings and 1 from patterns. Patterns also have a slot nested into them to add a nano coating into the pattern. Each design element comes with 2 flavors, unlimited and limited usage. The unlimited design elements will require a new sequence binder items to be in your current inventory. New design elements can be bought and sold in the local market, acquired in events, daily goals, and through loot drops in various locations in-game. Quick covering on spot. It's fine. I love the new planet GFX. All right. Players name their custom skins during the design process. Players can also save up to 5 designs for future manufacturing. Gathering design elements and sequencing binders allows capsuleers to sequence ship skins for themselves or to sell to other pilots. Notice they don't say give or trade. Sequencing costs are based on a tier system and are calculated in plex based on a rarity of design elements and complexity of the skin. Sequence binders can be bought and sold on the local market, acquired from events, daily goals, and through loot drops in various locations in game, just like design element counterparts. If you have the new skill, mass sequencing trained up, you'll be able to sequence multiple copies of the same skin at once. Skill levels determine the quantity allowed. You will need to have enough design elements and/or sequence binders and the amount for the amount of skins being sequenced. What if you want to sequence a few different skins at once? Look no further than the skin parallel sequencing and multi-thread sequencing. These allow sequencing of multiple skin designs simultaneously. Skill levels determine the number of simultaneous jobs. There are a total of 11 new skills for those interested in specializing in skin builders. We have, while having built time for an item is nothing new for New Eden, we recognize that this represents a new paradigm for cosmetic items. To cater to those seeking instant delivery for those ship skins, we've added the option to speed up the sequencing for additional cost, varying on how much time remains, regardless of how many skins are in the sequencing job. Well, aren't you so kind? This system is designed with the skins such that skins created with additional cost remain balanced and do not disrupt market dynamics for those who specialize in the field of skin creation. I just don't get why they needed to do the whole Plex, like just have the sequence binders buyable through Plex, because now they give away Plex, and like they even talked about how like they're giving away Plex to support the free-to-players. That's a rant for later. Let's leave that rant for later. I'm going to save that for later. The copywriter who wrote that should get a pay raise. It is very, very carefully worded. There's a new set of skills that will elevate your skin sequencing playstyle. These are found under the new category called sequencing. Sequence time modifier skills. Basic introduction reduces sequencing time. First tier skill. Induction efficiency reduces sequencing time. Second tier skill. So there's basic, introduction, advanced, and peak acceleration, which reduces acceleration time. It is 1, 3, 5, and 8 training multiplier and costs 5, 15, 25, and 45 million each. Mass sequencing is allows sequencing of multiple copies and designs That's basic, mass, and industrial for 3 tiers. So remember, so basically in order to accelerate all the way, you need to get all 4 of these different skills. Same with this. So it'll probably be like 1 additional item per level. So it's like a total of 16 or whatever. Multi-skin sequencing. Parallel sequencing allows sequencing of multiple different design patterns at once with 2 tiers of that. And then skin selling skills allows the listing of more skins on the iHub, 1st tier skill and 2nd tier skill. So this is like market slots. Each of these skills can be purchased straight through the skill window and can be trained to level 4 before able to train the next tier. Very standard stuff. Sequence binders. These are new items that are required when using unlimited use skin design occur sequencers. Consumed by basic nanocoatings when sequencing a skin. Fermiotic sequencers consumed by metallic nanocoatings when sequencing a skin. And alignment sequencers is consumed by patterns when sequencing a skin. A new cosmetic collection makes it simple to keep track of SKINR-made skins, nanocoatings, and patterns where you can apply SKINR-made skins to filter through your collection. Paragon Hub. Players can buy basic nanocoatings, metallic nanocoatings, and patterns at the Paragon Hub. Soon after the expansion, players can choose to sell their created skins in the Paragon Hub. Listing options include duration, day, 3 days, week, etc. Hub listing costs are charged in ISK. And the SKINR service fee applies to sales and are charged in the currency chosen for the sale of the skin. So that's the percentage that we need to know. Like, what is that? In the picture, it showed 30%, which is pretty alarming. But honestly, that's just what is the difference in cost between building it yourself and buying one on the market? Because that extra cost, that fee is just going to be pushed to the purchaser because you're never going to sell it at a loss. Just if it takes you 110 plex to sequence it, then you're not going to sell it for less than 150. Omega perks. Alpha accounts can sequence skins for all hulls that an alpha account can pilot. Omega accounts can sequence for any hull that is currently supported by the SKINR tool. Ship SKINR located in the utility section of the Neocom. But we are sure you'll want to put a shortcut on the main Neocom bar. Just a reminder, you can put shortcuts on the Neocom bar by just dragging it out of the Neocom dropdown and into the bar. Ship info and preview windows. Show info now displays ship preview with your applied skin. Clicking the ship preview in show info will open the ship preview window with your applied skin. Until June 17th, a special set of expansion login rewards will be available for players to log in. Rewards include sequence binders, welcome package, and components of SKINR ship personalization and up to 200,000 skill points and boosters. So be prepared for that. That'll be 11th through 17th. So that's 6 days. Be prepared to do that. Corporation projects. I imagine they're also probably going to give you 6 days of free Omega time, maybe. With Equinox, we will continue to build our library of player activities that corporations can author corporation projects for, including ship loss, earn LP, and salvage Rex. We talked about that last week. You can automate ship replacement programs by specifying the type of ship, where it is, what killed it. It's actually pretty robust as long as you're willing to set it up, and it automatically pays out. Loyalty points activities allows us to create actual LP taxes, or LP buybacks, automatic LP buybacks. So you can say, okay, well, we're going to tax your LP by 30%, but we're going to pay you 2,000 ISK per LP or whatever for it. And then also salvaging tasks. Not 100% sure how that's going to be useful, but we'll see. And then overhauled Corp window UI. Again, we went over this last week. Improved daily goals include the addition of earn 50 LP from any place and salvage 15 Rex. And then there's monthly progress rewards. So, yeah, and this is the thing that I was talking about earlier, which is that they're talking about how giving away Plex is really trying to support the free-to-players. But you have to have Omega. You have to have Omega to get the Plex for free. So I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that statement, but I hope that eventually they might change these rewards to be a little bit higher than just 5 Plex. Seems very lackluster for 9 days of work, but whatever. The sequence binders could be interesting, the Evermarks, etc. But you still get rewarded per task you do. But this is replacing the daily login rewards. So we're no longer going to have daily login rewards. We've talked about that already before with the Halcyon boosters and stuff, which may not be accessible after this. So ship emphasis. We want to make interacting with ships and progressing through ships in New Eden more digestible. Assemble and board action. Double-clicking on a packaged ship will take you to your ship out. So basically, when you assemble a ship, it'll assemble it, ask you to name it, and board it for you. The new section of the ship tree shows off ships you've recently managed to unlock, with badges indicating new entries until they've been viewed. Default ship naming, that's the pop-out I just talked about. Ship card view, an inventory view to allow you to see all the ship characteristics on, quickly. And ship requirement panel allows players to see, add skills to the queue. This is a lot of really cool quality of life changes for people, especially newer players. Evergreen daily login rewards is just, yeah, they just call that, that's what it's always been called, as opposed to an event login reward. We'll see, Jeff. So yeah, those are kind of cool. And then they also added the Society of Conscious Thought and Concord ship lines to the ship tree, and they added faction logos within the ship tree. Faction logos shown within the ship tree have been updated as well. Overhauled ship restriction. I'm kind of a little bit saddened about the Conscious Thought ones being in there, because it's like I always thought that they were a good one for, like, if someone introduces you to them, then they're good for you. But like, I don't necessarily want a new player that doesn't really know anything to see like a praxis and be like, oh, this is going to be my ticket to Windtown. Yeah, like it doesn't expire. That's true. Well, they cut down the evergreens, okay? Overhauled ship weapon, ship restriction windows. Ships are now sorted into collapsible sections by their group. Ship icons can now be shown alongside ship names. Ship entries can now be interacted with. You right-click to open information window. Only ships within the ship tree will be listed. Added an option to search for a specific ship from those listed. Added a filter option to show only ships that are in the current character can fly. Added an option to show restricted ships but highlight them as unusable. Ship restriction window will now appear. We just need to look at the final result for this when we get there. Ship restriction warning will now appear in the info panel objective of relevant sites or missions tracked by air opportunities. Double-clicking on this warning will open up the ship restrictions window. The warning will appear when en route to a site or when within a site's lobby area. Okay, yeah. So this is like when it tells you what ships are allowed in the site. This is more information is presented there. Got it. Home fronts. Big change coming to home fronts. All right, we aimed, maybe I don't want to play it up too much. Acceleration gates within these sites will now become partially restricted when activated. The character that first activates the gates will be considered the owner of the site. Anyone outside of the owner's current fleet will receive a suspect timer when activating the gate. If the current owner leaves the combat area of the site, another character within that fleet will be selected as the new owner. If no fleet member is present within the combat area, another character within the combat area will be selected as the new owner instead. If no owner is found, the gate will reset and become unrestricted until it is next activated. Okay, so what does this mean? So when the first person to activate the gate, their fleet owns the gate. So any other people that try to go in will automatically get a suspect flag. This means that if you have your safety set to green and not yellow, it'll just stop you from being able to activate it, which most people in doing these things should have their safeties to green anyways. It's just another reason to have your safeties to green, so that way you don't accidentally step into somebody else's fleet and give yourself a 5-minute timer. So then if you guys get pushed off, like if another group does want to contest you, they can come in and they're suspect. If for some reason you get pushed off, or if you engage them, for example, which allows them to engage you, and you get pushed off, as soon as the last one of you leaves, then they become the new owner. which means additional members of their fleet coming in won't get suspect flags, but likely the suspect flags that they've already accrued will continue. And then if you try to come back to the site, you would get a suspect flag for coming in because you no longer own it. They now do. All right. Not saying that this is a very common thing, but just trying to explain the mechanics of it. All right. An emergency aid payout has been reworked. The additional payouts received at 5 and 10 minutes have been removed. So the emergency aid, okay. All of the home fronts were designed to be done in roughly 15 minutes or so, which obviously higher tier groups or groups that had it figured out could do them faster, to the point where most of the home fronts actually get done in like 5 to 10 minutes or so, right? But the emergency aid one, like in one, it's cap up the dread 3 times. In another, it's kill the 3 haulers and bring the stuff over here. Another, it's hack the things, then destroy the towers. Notice how in all of these things, there's an active thing that you can do, and then once you've completed it, it's over. Well, for this one, it's defend the tower for 10 minutes, or for 15 minutes, which has made it one of the less popular ones, because it literally can't be completed faster than 15 minutes. It has a hard limit. So what they eventually did was they made it so it paid out 3 different times. But apparently that wasn't a great solution either. So here's iteration 3. Now this site completes faster. It's only 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes, but it no longer has those additional payouts. It's only the 1 payout. And remember, across the board, all of these payouts have been reduced a little bit, but we'll talk about that too. All sites, including the excluding the Abyssal Artifact Recovery, has had their payouts reduced. Now, the Abyssal Artifact Recovery is the hardest site to do by far. And so all of the rest of them have now been nerfed to being 15.5 million ISK each, down from 17.14 million ISK each. So roughly, let's call it a little bit less, like 10%. We'll call it 10% nerf in income for doing home fronts. However, the overall bounty values of NPCs within these sites have been greatly increased. Now, depending on whatever that means, this could mean that our strategies with home fronts have shifted from ignoring the NPCs while attempting to do the task to just outright fighting the NPCs. This could do a couple of cool things. One, it could actually make that defense emergency aid way cooler, because you're just sitting there killing stuff the whole time. Whereas the rest of them, you're now like, it also makes like raid a little bit cooler, because there's a period of time where you're just sitting around doing nothing. And so you're able to kill the rats. They just need to fix it so that those rats don't give you standings losses as well. But you know, this makes the actual act of doing the home fronts a far more active activity. And those who are actually actively killing the stuff instead of ignoring them and doing the task itself, they are going to get an increased reward, which hopefully will actually like help against multi-boxers, because real people will have something to do and, you know, kill different stuff. However, Empire faction cruisers are no longer permitted to enter the combat areas of these sites. So, you know, a lot of the strategies rely on Empire Navy cruisers, you know, Navy Chronicle Navy issues, Vexor Navy issues. Now, the standard Chronicle can fit in slot into where the Chronicle Navy issue works within, say, like raids. So I'm not too worried about them still being viable. But this combined with the overall bounty change is going to make it much more about like keeping the rats suppressed. I wonder if anything's going to happen with well, yeah, it says combat fleet NPCs within all sites will now take longer to respawn when destroyed. So it's going to be more about like controlling and killing the rats, which kind of changes the dynamics of the fleet a little bit. And I'm a little bit I'm excited. I'm hopeful to see what that's going to do with the actual changing the nature of the site itself. Dedicated ECM using NPCs within the Dread Assault sites, it will now take significantly longer to respawn when destroyed. Yeah, they're kind of a pain in the ass. So keeping them killed, like the Dread Assault site, now becomes more about keeping the rats killed. All these sites become partially about keeping the rats killed, which is good. Site failure timers in all applicable sites have been reduced to 20 minutes. That was from 1 hour. That kind of represent. They didn't know if people would like fail it and then like have to come back and like finish it up, or if it would take people time to collect themselves or whatever. Obviously, that's not the case. So now the timer, if after 20 minutes, it gets recycled. So that way, like somebody doesn't start it and then fail it, and then it just sits there for like an hour before it despawns. The average DPS of NPCs using missiles have been decreased. That's good. The repair amount of logistic NPCs have been decreased. This is very good. This is one of the problems with these sites, was that like actually killing their logi made killing the rats very difficult. Drifter NPCs within Abyssal Artifact recovery sites will now show their piloting characters. This is just a correction. All drifters show the name of the pilot as opposed to the battleship class. So this makes it consistent with that. When a site ends unsuccessfully, the relevant conversation will appear even if it's been viewed before. When arriving at a site that has been completed, the relevant conversation will appear even if it has been viewed before. An info panel objective will now appear when a character is in warp. Improved consistency for when conversations and info panel objectives are displayed. Cool. Paragon missions. Added new Paragon mission requests for additional frigates, Navy frigates, additional destroyers, Navy destroyers, T1 cruisers, and faction ammo. So basically, I would expect basically all of the normal T1 frigates and Navy frigates and destroyers, Navy destroyers, and cruisers, probably. As well as the mining barges. Mothership sites within high and low security space now have a minimum amount of time before they can appear. So this is a thing, like a lot of people, not a lot of people, one of the things that people will do when drama is high in the incursion world is they will do what's called headshotting the mom. Once a certain amount of progression in the incursion has been done, which you want to do a bunch of progress on the incursion in order to reduce the suppression modifiers of the incursion system, which allows you to, once you have all the systems power-ups suppressed, then you can actually do the better stuff. Oh, and faction ammo. That's true. Faction ammo. I missed that one. That's correct. That's cool. Either way, so you want to run the sites quickly in order to suppress stuff, so that way you can do the harder sites. But once you've done enough of those, then the mom spawns. And those harder sites are the ones that people really like to farm. And so the thing is that the mothership spawns, and then when it is killed, that ends the incursion. And so often incursion runners will want to take several days to farm the hardest sites before somebody kills the mom. But every once in a while, for a period of time or whatever, some group gets uppity and decides to start headshotting the mom early. So now this is basically creating a minimum amount of time that those Paragon things Paragon are collecting will likely show up as MP rewards, cash, Plex offers. Not a bad idea. Not a bad guess. So this will make it so that the mom doesn't show up for 3 days in high sec and 1 day in low sec, which gives a certain amount of guarantee to those who are doing incursions that you have at least 3 days to run stuff before somebody can headshot the mom. And then observatory flashpoints in Pochfin. Now the activation of the rage gate for the observatory has been increased to 25 kilometers. Players present in the first pocket of the site when the site plays out will not receive a share of the rewards. That's Seagullers. NPCs will now take into account the presence of drones and prioritize them as targets. Not sure if this is going to be enough to fix it, but we'll have to see. I still think that the biggest problem with observatory flashpoints is that they are reversed. They should be, the Trig ones should be in Edencom site, or sorry, the ones that Pro Trig want to kill should be in Edencom systems, and the one that Edencom want to kill should be in Pochfin, but I digress. Yeah, you can convert LP to ammo and then sell it to, or turn it into Paragon missions. That's correct. C5 and C6 cosmic anomalies and signatures. A capital ship must be present in the site prior to the appearance of the decloaked transmission relay to trigger the Arithmos Tyrannos spawn. Any escalation waves, including the Arithmos Tyrannos, will despawn if capital ships leave the site or stray further than 100 kilometers of a safe warp-in point. And Lancer Dreadnaughts will now trigger escalation in waves in cosmic anomalies and cosmic signatures. So I guess that's cool. Like, I like what they were talking about this, where there has been the complaint that high levels wormholes are able to generate too much money has been a long-standing one. And this basically, rather than nerfing their rewards, they're merely forcing a larger ante to the field. It's always been that, like, the harder sites, the point is that you have to warp in a capital ship in order to trigger the better escalation. But what people have taken to is, once it's been triggered, you move the capital off the field and then just fight it with marauders. This especially once the marauders got buffed. So what this is saying is that now, if you move the capital off the field at any time during it, then the extra bits will just despawn. I'm not sure if I really like that too much because I think the Arithmostranos is supposed to warp off and like warp around and fuck with people. But yeah, well, I'll have to see how it interacts with that. But I do really, really like the idea that it's like what we should see is not necessarily less value in C6 sites, but more danger in running C6 sites, and more I caught myself a dread in a C6 stuff like that. That feels good. Triglavian Minor Victory systems. Entropic Disintegrator Warposts and their deployment fleets will no longer consider players with 0 standings with the Triglavian Collective as hostile. Weapons damage ramp-up time for Entropic Disintegrator Warposts have been lengthened. Entropic Disintegrator Warposts now feature a bounty upon destruction. Reinforcement fleets for Entropic Disintegrator Warposts have been scaled back in difficulty. The interval at which new warposts have been deployed has been increased. The Triglavian Collective will no longer deploy Entropic Disintegrator Warposts at Stargates, stations, and Upwell structures in Minor Victory systems. Okay. Screw you, right? Like, let me start with that. I'm a little butthurt. And I know that some of it is like comeuppance, and I'm going to admit to those. But at the same time, like, oh, after everything else we've had, this feels very snaky, and I'll explain why. First of all, this fundamentally changes the way that Triglavian Minor Victory systems function in low sec, right? There already is big protections for people in high sec, and I feel that having systems warn you that it could be really freaking dangerous, and then when you jump in, it's really freaking dangerous, is something that should be perfectly okay for players to have to be able to deal with and learn from. I think, in fact, it's a good lesson for people to learn from. So the idea that traveling through a Triglavian Minor Victory system is not dangerous for people who have not actively acted against the Trig, I feel has at part missed the entire purpose of the Triglavian Minor Victory system. But that isn't even why I'm mad. Why I'm mad is because pro-Triglavian people exist. And more importantly, okay, here's why I'm mad. All right. And this might be a personal thing. I'm gonna call it that. Okay. I'm in a this is biased because it happens to affect me, but screw it. That's the reason why I'm going to voice it, all right? Because I know there's other people that feel this way too, all right? So during invasions, the entire purpose of the standings was that, like, hey, these standings are going to permanently affect your attitude with these different empires. And if you do good, if you fight for the Edencom, the Triglavians won't like you. And you fight for the Triglavians, the Edencom won't like you. And this is a lasting thing, and they recognize you, and you get you know, promoted, or you get like cool stuff like shirts and access for being positive standings, and you get punished and hunted down if you've got negative standings, right? And like, I hear this all the time. I hear this all the time for like you know, the Edencom people didn't get anything, and Triglavian pilots got Potchfin and all this other stuff. And you know, what I never hear about is because people talk about how there was no cost or whatever. People don't really talk about the cost that comes with being a supporter of the Triglavian Collective, which is that Edencom systems are hostile to you. And let me tell you, Edencom systems are everywhere, especially in a Mars space. You can literally, there is a pair of Edencom systems, Jark and Bay, that there are people that ensure that there is massive Edencom fleets on basically every gate within those two systems to make it almost impossible to move anything through that isn't insta-aligned as a pro-Edencom player. This is just one example of the consequences that us as pro-Triglavian players have given up and voluntarily been okay with in order for the other advantages of being in the Trig. And one by one, we have seen those advantages being undermined and whittled away. First, they made it, well, not even first, they made it so that structures aren't going to be, the Pochfin gates don't have the same lockouts anymore, and they made it so that the rats were less aggressive, like Rasnaborg rats were less aggressive, and whatever. And now they are making it. They've made these changes. Is it Jarkin and Shasta? Sorry, Shasta. Now there's making these changes to Triglavian minor victory systems, but leaving the Edencom systems exactly the same, which is very painful. But you can legit make a Trig neutral at 0/0 that fixes it, taking away Trig gate camps, but making the Trig players still have to deal with Jark Sasta death camps. Nah. Yeah, exactly. And then this also undermines the fact that here's the thing that really ticks me off, okay? Here's the thing that really ticks me off. As soon as Pochfin came out, right, throughout the entirety of insurgencies, when people were fighting tooth and nail every day over every system, people talk about it being scripted. It wasn't, okay? The 27 systems that were taken for Pochfin were taken by the blood, sweat, tears, and hulls of the pro-Triglavian players that ran those sites, killed those rats, and defended themselves from players through high sec, through low sec, into null sec every single time, okay? So those 27 systems were earned by the pro-Triglavian people. And every single time they ran a site, they got a little bit more negative Edencom and a little bit more positive Trig, okay? So in the end, you get all these people that have pro-Trig, pro-Edencom from their tours of duty during insurgencies. And these end up with lasting implications in the form of these different benefits and penalties, right? If you're pro Edencom, you can't travel into Trig systems very easily. If you're pro Trig, you can't travel into Edencom systems very easily. And that's the way it goes. And in Pochfin, it's very contested. Cool. Okay. But now, once Pochfin came out, the rogue drones and the sleepers in Pochfin give you positive for both. So every single player who has joined since Insurgency has basically been able to kill one rogue drone and just fix their standings for both sides forever. So the only people that have a lasting stain upon them, that get no reprieve from it, new or otherwise, is those who have sided with the Triglavian people, the people that said, okay, CCP, I see what you're doing, and we will be the tip of those spears and help the Triglavians do what they're going to do. We've seen no additional benefits. Pochfin has not been made better for the pro-Triglavians and has been made worse for the pro-Triglavians on multiple different ways and levels. And yet, we literally cannot travel in high-sec safely without extra logistics, right? There's no reason for me to tell new players to go into Pochfin and fix your standings. Why would you care about fixing your standings? Why can people just ignore the fact that they're Triglavian? Because it's not even neutral, right? Well, I guess pro-Edencom people would still be negative with Triglavians, so that's fine. But, like, it just... we took those systems, and it feels like they should be more belonged. Like, Trig has even threatened to increase their hostility in the Triglavian minor victory systems, not reduce it. So I feel like this is a mistake, a complete mistake. They might, like, not all of it, mind you, but and at the very least, you know what pisses me off the most? You know what pisses me off the most? You know what pisses me off the most? Entropic Disintegrator Warposts now feature a bounty upon destruction. Like, the problem here is that, like, the towers and, like, what is the true value? There is little, there's some, but there's not a lot of value to going after the Edencom Gunstars. But this just rubs into my face how little value there is in going after counterinsurgency warposts. Why is it, or Gunstars? Why is it that, like, Why is it that we get 0 reward on anything in the new fleets that are roaming around, but we can now reward people for blowing up the war posts that don't even spawn in places that matter anymore? This feels so heavy-handed, and at the same time, the complete neglect on what it's like to actually go through Edencom systems. Like, if they gave us a little bit of reprieve too, I'd be okay with this. But just having it be one-sided feels like a giant slap in the face. But CCP has a really long and proud tradition of slapping in the face whoever is spending the most amount of effort doing RP and caring about what's actually going on. And the the Edencom people felt slighted before, and the Triglavian, pro-Triglavian people have a good reason to be like, hey, give us something, right? Give us something cool. And the Trig LP store is still broken, by the way. I can't believe it. You know what pisses me off the most about this? They teased it with, these are the Pochfin changes, and everybody got attention. They got me to come back to my chair. I was pacing around the room. I came back and I was like, Pochfin changes? What do we got? And it's one change to the observatory flashpoint, and then everything. Oh, okay. I'm done. I'm done. I should have a technical difficulties splash screen. Trig's not putting bounty Edencom towers as well feels bad. Or like a material or something. Maybe turn it in for the LP store. I don't know. Give us a reason to go into Edencom systems and just kill shit. That feels good. Don't pro Trigs have the option to have their standings positive with Edencom for a while? Doesn't that make native Edencom standings a choice? Correct. But that choice comes from how much did you participate on the pro Trig side during insurgencies, and whether or not you worked off that negative standings by doing stuff in Pochfin, which means the goal for every pilot, Edencom or Triglavian, is to be positive with both. Why does that make sense? Answer that. Like, this just brings into focus the problem of the fact that you can get positive with both. That doesn't make it a choice. That makes it a non-choice. It just makes it that you're stupid for being negative Triglavian standings, or for being positive Triglavian standings and negative Edencom, which means that one of the choices in the game is just objectively a bad choice. Then, yeah, it's a choice you can make for RP reasons, but, like, that's a strange thing to just make the objectively wrong choice. Invasions. I don't think pro Trig Capsulators should get reprieve for their acts against New Eden, but I should definitely be rewarded by the collective for past ongoing support. I agree. I agree that Edencom should not give us some sort of reprieve or whatever. I think that, well, yeah, that's because Pirate Software was one of the big pro Trig people. I don't like the fact that you basically, if you can buy the biosuit, I quit. Ooh, ha. That's a whole nother can of worms. But I think that the real problem here is that, like, you can either be positive Edencom, negative Trig, positive Trig, not and negative Edencom, or positive with both. But those options aren't actually interesting in any way, right? Like, there's one correct choice, and then there's two incorrect choices for various reasons. And it makes me feel like the entire feature has been, like, Frankensteined way past when it's supposed to. It's starting to decay. It's starting to rot and smell. All right. Concord Rogue Analysis Beacon. Yeah. Being positive both Trig and Edencom doesn't make sense. I agree. Rather than going that route, they should just make it so those decisions are meaningful. I've long said that, like, the smallest thing that I would need. Okay, here's the thing that I want. Ready? Hey, Ash, what would be a good replacement? Do you just want them to get rid of Gunstars too? Absolutely not. I want Jark and Sasta to be just as dangerous. I want Empire Space to be dangerous for pro Trig people. You know what I want? I want Trig standings to affect Trig players' ability to build in industry things. In other words, I want if you have maximum trig bonuses or trig standings, then building something in a trig station is roughly the equivalent of building it in a player structure. So that way, and people with high Triglavian standings are encouraged to just live in Pochven. If you want us to abandon high sec completely by keeping Eden Com systems as hostile as they are, then make sure that Pochven living completely like insularly is actually like viably interesting. All right. That's true. We might get lore changes in that area soon. Okay. Reduce the amount of megasite required for manufacturing the Concord Rogue Analysis Beacon by 50%. All right. So, LP stores. Removed all ship holes from LP stores. This is mostly for like Empire ships. But a lot of the Navy ships, especially like on the Faction Warfare LP store, you can either get it by getting the BPC or the chip and the base, like a base hull. So like a Tristan, I think it was. Or is it a Tristan and a chip becomes a Comet Navy issue? Either way, it's like a... you get the idea. But they're getting... The new Pirate LP stores didn't allow you to just get ships directly. You could only get the BPCs. And this is changing it so that none of the LP stores will give you completed ships. They will all only give BPCs from now on. And then you have to build those NPCs or those BPCs. They also added a new manufacturing component called the Net Resonator that replaces the Neuralink conduit for subcapital pirate ship manufacturing. This is a big deal. This is huge for pirate ship manufacturing. The difference, pirate ships exploded in price during the industry changes explicitly because of the Neuralinks. Those are the doodads that require the gas and the exploration in order to be able to build. So they're the very, very expensive components. They're the very, very expensive components that they removed from faction subcapital ships when they did Uprising. And so, now the weird thing about this is that now only capitals require Neuralink conduits. So like these things have gone from very valuable because they're needed for everybody, including the low-sec gas, to now only being required in capital ships, which is kind of odd. I think that this should... like the Neuralinks should be moved back to the Empire ships, so that way it's more in line with the pirate ships. I wonder, like this is obviously going to hurt the low sec gas market, probably, as you don't need them for pirate ships anymore. However, so now to replace that is these new net resonators, which are just from the LP store. So now, as like a Grissus or an Angel pilot, you just buy the BPC and then you buy these net resonators. It's just more LP to get the doodad. So it'll still take the R4 reactables, the life support backup units, and the auto integrity preservation seals, just like trig ships and everything else does. But it will take these new net resonators, which are purchasable from the Pirate Faction LP stores. Yeah. And it says change LP offers for Pirate Hull BPCs. We have no idea as to what that's actually going to mean. The fact that a Dread or a carrier costs half as many Neuralinks as a battleship was silly. Does it? No. What? I don't know that one. T2 capital guns reduce the amount of morphite or robotics required for manufacturing T2 capital guns by 50%. Or I assume that... What? Whatever. Either way, so that's going to make T2 capital guns cheaper. This makes sense. Capital guns have always been like a very expensive upgrade to the Dreads, but now Dreads themselves are expensive, so it's pushed a lot more of the costs onto the Dread. Yeah, rips low sec. This is going to be very bad for low sec gas huffing potentially. I don't know. The absence of Neuralink conduits. Maybe people are just going to be building a bunch of carriers. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's still going to have a demand in capitals, but it's just a huge drop in its demand after a previous huge drop in its demand. A new skill, magnetic stabilization, mutagenic stabilization, has been added to as a requirement to build genetic mutation inhibitors. This skill gives a 2% reduction in manufacturing time for all items requiring it per level. The skill book has a training multiplier of ×2. What? Build genetic mutation inhibitors. What is a genetic inhibitor? What's this? Oh. Okay. Okay. So this is the capital doodads, right? No? Yes. So these were the doodads that were added for for capital ships. So this takes where's the requirement? Wait, hold on. Test culture. Oh my gosh. Nitrogen fuel blocks, titanium, fullerene, isotropic disposition guide, which is a commodity. Oh boy. Wait, is this no. So this is the doodad that requires wormhole gas that's required in capital modules. It used to require drug skills to level 5 to use the blueprint. Ah, okay. So this is just kind of cleaning things up. Okay. All right, and that's it. That was it, guys. That's the patch notes. Woo! That is actually a lot faster than I thought it would be. Let's just, while we're at it, look at, let's see, do I have anything else? We're going to look at the Chronicle and the New Eden News next Monday then. There is a new Chronicle, Hostile. It's the first Chronicle they've come out with for a while. Now go through the 3,000 strings. Oh, God, I didn't even think about that. Oh, before we do, I do want to say we have a new product on our Eve Universe Show store. It says software developer ! Tech support. I've wanted to make this shirt for a long time. You can get it on a t-shirt or a hoodie or whatever. And you know, next time, if you're a software developer and somebody, you know, wants you to help fix their Windows installation, go ahead and wear this as your little passive-aggressive note that just because you write code for a living doesn't mean that you're their personal tech support. Yeah. So that's available on my store, ashtarothi.myspreadshop.com. Aren't the Neuralinks the only thing that to use low-sec gas in shipbuilding? The other parts or subcaps are R4 goo? Yes. Yeah, the new Chronicle is very exciting. There's a lot of stuff about it. We get to talk about the Triglavians. I've learned some things. We've confirmed some things, but we're going to talk about that on Monday because that's a whole another kettle of fish. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into HoboLeaks. I forgot to pull that up. HoboLeaks is where they patch stuff, or like basically they take any given patch and change. We could have looked up numbers. Look at this. We could have looked up numbers. All right, blueprints. 128 blueprints. Sovereignty Hub blueprints. Defunct Territorial Claiming blueprint. Gila, Phantasm. Okay, so we got changes, okay? Hold on. I'm gonna make this a little bit wider. There we go. Maybe that's good. Close enough for government work. All right, so you can see here the RO trigger Neuralink conduits are now gone, and the net resonator, Guristas net resonator, is applied. It still does have the life support and auto integrity, same requirements. This is on Sissy. They patched all of the stuff over to Sissy, so we can look at it. Phantasm, Cinnable, Nightmare, all of the same stuff going on here. Oh, here we go. So Stratios 2. Look at this. Hold on. So you need SOE net resonators. Oh, okay, so now you need special resonators that require that SOE, or, you know, I'm assuming SOE give out SOE net resonators. And, you know, not just the faction warfare ones, but all of these. So doing SOE epic SOE missions are going to be necessary to getting the doodads to get more to build the SOE ships. Not you can't just get a chip anymore. Garmer blueprint, Orthrus. So this is they require Mordu net resonators. Defunct arrays. These are basically they've modified the old ones to be these ones now. This is them deprecating it. The only change to the repeating cannon you can see here is 1187. Oh, 2374. So the Morphite here gets reduced. Gigapulse laser. It's Morphite again. Iron Siege Blaster is robotics. So Ion Siege Blaster is robotics. Railgun is Morphite. Repeating Cannon is Morphite. Siege Artillery is Morphite. Beam Laser, Morphite. Really? So wait, hold on. The only one that's robotics is the Triple Neutron Blaster Cannon 2? I don't know. I feel like I missed something there. There's the mutation inhibitor blueprint. Mecha Ball, Alligator, Kisriel, the rest of them. Okay, here we go. Torrent. We have Fission Reactor Unit, Fission Thruster, Morphite, Hyperconductive, Gravimetric Sensor Cluster, Construction Blocks, Pentachoron Capacitor Unit, Repelling Shield Emitter, Electromagnetic Microprocessor, Metaprismatic Armor Plate. Those all sound like new things. Let's go look. Fission Thruster Blueprint. Takes crystalline carbonide, titanium carbonide, tungsten okay. So the fission thruster blueprint requires all of the carbonides. The hyperconductive gravimetrics take... Wait. Yeah, okay, so this takes ferrogel and all of the carbonides. This takes neurotransistors and hypersynaptic fibers and all of the carbonides. Electromagnetical microprocessors take metamaterials and carbonides. Metaprismatic armor plates take just carbonides and ceramic fibers? Is that a thing we already have, or is that new? Repelling shield emitters take ferrogel and carbides. Oh, carbonides versus carbides. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Some of these are carbides, some of these are carbonides. I'm sorry, I'm not that used to this stuff. But yes. Capacitor unit blueprint, metamaterials and carbonides, and, well, crystal carbonides and 3 other carbides and fullerides. Orbital Skyhook blueprint, we saw those already. Sinusoidal navigation blueprint. I assume the sinusoidal suppression new blueprint. I assume these are all the upgrades for the iHub. Metenox moon drill blueprint. Major threat detection array. There's all of those. Placeholders, SOV upgrade 2. That'll probably get changed. Megasite, Zydrine, Noxium, placeholder. All of these are all of the faction fighters that take... I'm assuming that these are going to be turned in from LP stores because these blueprints don't make sense for manufacturing. Capital Micro Jump Drive blueprint. I think we've looked at these already, but it's basically just minerals. Jump Field Generator, more minerals. Domination Signature Radius Suppressor takes the normal suppressor plus minerals. Dreadgristis, Zohars, same thing. Oh, so the Zohars and Hazotsu requires a Domination or Dreadgristis signature radius one respectively, and the Domination one, we'll have to see whether or not the Domination one and the Dreadgristis one is different anyway. Okay, so I think this means that material isn't a new material because I didn't see a blueprint for it. Yeah, I think it's about the same amount of materials, but it's a mixture of all 4 empires' materials instead of just one empire's materials. Okay, let's see. Archon. These are all the carriers getting their strings updated. These are all of the haulers having their things updated. Attributes, special colony resource hold capacity, shield bonuses. Yeah. None of that's fine. All this is just changed to like these are the actual stat changes. They gave the rare ships and put them in their correct faction ID. They apparently specify now with the Capital Flex Shield Hardeners who can fit it. Because those are on the Torrent now, or the Avalanche. And let's go through 8,000 strings. It's only 3,161. Oh, boy. Oh, it didn't crash my client, or my browser. Okay, let's see. Military upgrades. Graviton Warhead and Missile Guidance System. Okay, auto targeting systems. This is a deprecated item. Developed by Upwell Consortium. This. Yep. All of this is fine. All of these are fine. Deprecated item. Mordu cruise missile with plasma warhead. Chimera's design. Chimera is capable of Okay, they just added the verbiage for the jump conduit portals. A bunch of errors and info boxes when it comes to upgrading and managing your SOV. System is vulnerable. You must be within 2,500 meters of the Sovereignty Hub to access the upgrade panel. This module spools up and teleports the user in up to 24 nearby ships, along with all drones, fighters, and bombs. That's for the micro jump field generator. And then MSET asteroid ore processing. Oh, they're adding all the new minerals or ore to the list. Deploy without Sovereignty Hub? Huh. Wait, hold on. To achieve full functionality, this may require a Sovereignty Hub in the solar system. No such Sovereignty Hub could be found. Are you sure you wish to deploy this structure here? That's probably on like the Sinojammer and stuff. It's like, hey, Let's see. This service module will automatically included built into every Upwell and cannot be removed from the structure. Yeah. That's just saying the flex stuff. War info is turned to laws of war. Mining crystals being updated with the new ore. Yeah, I should teleport fighters and bombs. I don't think they count towards the limit. Or reprocessing strings. Squall description. With Upwell's shipping lanes facing new increasing threats from the emergence of the Deathless Circle and rising pirate activity in YC125, Mortis Legion was brought on board as a co-designer, outfitting the Squall with an array of missile defenses. Despite being a hauler, the Squall is capable of deterring most small pirate raiding and scouting fleets without an escort. Yeah. Nearby ships arrive at the facility and join the escalating battle. Angel Bunker, Angel Occupied Mine. Site commander, this is it, people now or never. The commander himself finally shows up. The scanner's picked up a transmission originating from a nearby system. It would be wise to investigate this mysterious signal further. Remains of a destroyed ship. Destination of Angel Signal you trace. It is a former mining site occupied by some high-ranking Angel Cartel members. You'll be rewarded for their destruction. Angel Occupied Mine. Interesting. Let's see. Angel Bunker, nearby ships have arrived and joined the escalating battle. Site commander, hold on, men, blah, blah, blah. Your scanner has picked up transmission originating from a nearby system. You have found the data fragments that lead to a location of a high-ranking Angel Cartel leader. Escalation Test 2, attack site, drone enclave. Collected from the stratosphere of planets undergoing constant volcanic eruptions, magmatic gas is a relatively stable mixture of sublimated compounds. After a brief maturation period in its recipient Skyhook, the mixture's potential energy increases greatly, enabling it to be used as fuel. Its constant explosive power makes for excellent use in structures where the fuel's volume is not a detriment. Ashes of Turner stuff and encrypted data. Okay, we're getting there. Superionic ice synthesized for superionic water was considered too unstable for practical use. However, the scientific breakthrough in YC126 revealed that the immense pressures on ice planets partially stabilized superionic ice over a millennia, enabling safe collection into orbital Skyhook for further maturation. After this artificial maturation, the superionic ice is completely stable and can be safely transported. These naturally occurring forms exhibit unique metallic properties, making them invaluable for specialized engineering applications, particularly in fueling systems that require precise cooling and electrical conductivity. Pirate Angel Tower. A reinforced antimatter generator powered by muonal crystals, creating a perfect circle of electromagnetic radiance, penetrable only by a coordinated attack from the strongest armaments. Fan bus sigil? Wait, what? Space Cops arrival spawner? These are home fronts? A transport taking a commander fans to watch the tournament, or at least what appears to be ongoing wars. Oh, okay. So now we're dealing with sequencizers. Okay, primary objective. Use cargo scanners to identify ships smuggling highly sensitive data and destroy them. If ex-smuggler dock, the operation will be terminated. Secondary objective. Do not harm X innocents or the operation will be terminated. Time to complete 10 minutes. Hostiles unknown. Friendlies unknown. Fleet recommendations. 3 pilots. Roles cargo inspector, tackler, enforcer. Module type cargo scanners. Modules for the cargo inspections. Stasis webifiers for tacklers. Interesting. Smugglers disguised as legitimate transports are using this location to hide in traffic of highly sensitive data. Scan the cargo holds of vessels on a site to identify the smugglers and destroy them before the dock without disturbing innocent civilians. That's kind of cool. So you're like it's a traffic stop. So we're playing Papers, Please in Eve now. Smugglers escaped. Tolerance threshold. Destroy smugglers. Salvage yard. Combat spawner. Okay, salvage yard. Encrypted Istina data. Oh, okay. Well, captured Istina data. Istina being a word that comes up with the Chronicle. Come back on Monday to find out more about that. But let's just say it's very interesting that Istina data is in this new Homefront Operations commodity thing. Yeah, this research data has been locked behind a triple encrypted layer and would require 3-dimensional cipher to unlock. So this is a Triglavian thing. Again, we're going to talk about it next week, rather. Escalation test 4, capital staging hive, angel bunker, blah, 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 blah. Cargo scan ships and destroy contraband. Echoes. Ashes of Turner extremists have attacked a research facility, salvage wrecks to ensure encrypted Istana data before the site's reactor explodes, and they are lost forever. That's interesting. I wonder why the Ashes of Turner are using this Istana term that was used by the Triglavians in the Chronicle. Sizable rift. Sleepers are attempting to collapse an abyssal rift, have been ordered to keep open, drain the capacitors, and have their destabilizing arrays to foil their plans. Drain the destabilizing arrays to keep them all below 20% in order to stabilize the rift. Recommend it. So these are 3-man home fronts, where the Ashes of Turner are needing to be well, you've got this, you've got the okay, so you've got the trash stop, or the traffic stop, which is whoever, just smugglers. We have the salvage yard, which is Ashes of Turner with Istana data. And you have, where was it? Stabilize Rift, which is with Sleepers trying to stabilize a Triglavian Rift for whatever reason. Cool. Yeah, as long as their capacitor remains charged, these arrays are capable of flooding a rift in space with multivariant energy patterns that will cause it to destabilize and close. You got to have the wee-woo skins to unlock the Papers, Please. Oh, man. And they just gave us wee-woo skins on all the Navy destroyers, but we can't use Navy destroyers anymore. That sucks. Could this be the frigate home fronts that we're asking for? Could very well be. Waking Conservator. A Conservator sleeper equivalent to a frigate-class ship. It demonstrates the ability to charge the capacitor of allied devices. An ancient robotic protector of lost people's secrets. Its detail of internal operations are not fully understood. Oh, these are like the rats, right? Phaseless Cutter has undergone rapid evolution, developing a collapsible structure that allows it to discreetly store it inside transports. This is the only one of a number of previously unseen adaptations present in this drone, indicating it's developed alongside an evolutionary fork not seen in K-space. Probably a rogue drone, maybe? And then Angel Forsaken Sanctum. This is a fighter for the Archangels. It is protecting assets of Archangels, blah, blah, blah. So there's some new... I don't know if those are officers per se. Oh, drain the batteries. There's the other site. Tyrannos Kyrios and Tyrannos Basilius. They both got names. I blame CCP Demiurge for that. Feldspar deposits. Dino stuff, super capital constructions, fan bus bestower, transport taking commoner fans to watch the tournament, or at least appears to be. So these are the things that you have to scan in order to find the contraband. A small shuttle carrying personal mail to be delivered to Federation civilians. A shuttle piloted by someone just here to buy some interesting curiosities from the Great Wildlands. Interesting. Hold on. Benefaction Potremba. Data packet received in comms response. Fitness has been proven. An uncorrupted flow needs no mortification. Reciprocity. Nope. Reciprocity. Reciprocity. Ha ha! Whatever. Exchange. For the shrouded conductors of ancient domains will rise in advancing time coordination. That's an interesting statement. That's very Triglavian. Mordinium deposits. Blah, blah, blah. Upwell Consortium. That's the moon drill. Reciprocity. Reciprocity. God damn it. No, I know how to pronounce it. It's just my mouth is just refusing at the moment. Is there a way to increase standings with the Trig? Yeah. You increase standings with the Trig by killing rogue drones and sleepers in Pochfin. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. Integral component of Metenox moon drills. Sequencing stuff. More rocks. Nano coatings. Corporate emblems. More rocks. More rocks. UI details. More rocks. More rocks. More SKINR UI. This is for tasks and SKINR stuff. Oh, we can see all of the different colors and stuff now. You can see how many, but we could probably look at the images for that. We'll go look at that next. Running out of time. Career goals, or you know, whatever, daily tasks. Sequencers. I could dig through all these to try to figure out what colors and what patterns and all that stuff that we're going to get, but we're just going to find it. It'll probably take me less time to just wait till Tuesday to see. Capital jump portal generation, conduit passenger bonus. The sleeper rift. This is back to that rift thing. The new Homefront. All the different versions for the different empires. Space cops. Mining escalations for the different empires, or for the different NPCs, or pirates, I should say. More SKINR colors and textures. Matte, satin. Attack sites. They are, in fact, currently considered attack sites. The site was destroyed by a Sancha Nation attack led by a high-ranking true citizen. They are still present, picking over the wreckage. Net resonators. Shielded starbases. Towers. You seem to have found data fragments that lead to a location of a high-ranking Blood Raider officer. That's okay. So that's what the escalation looks like. You seem to have found data fragments that lead to the location of a pirate post where the pirates are operating from. Got it. Okay, that's good. Rewards, listing fees. Forsaken stuff. Amarian Amphitheater. Same since the first days of the Empire, holders have held tournaments to celebrate their rule. Oh, so these are all. This is the background stuff for the new home fronts, right? So like, you know, the Amarians are holding a tournament, so there's people arriving at the tournament. The Thucker have their market, so people are showing up to buy goods, etc., etc. Escalation text. The Templar. It's a fighter used by Amarian carriers. More escalation stuff. And faction fighters. Attack plans. So at the attack site is where the officer is attacking. Tournament firework launcher. Interesting. Oh, I guess these are just more like, so in the home front site, there'll be fireworks. That's kind of cool. A launcher dedicated to celebrating the glory of a Marian tournament and the divine significance of the sporting competition. More escalations. Ships for tips. Paragon. Those all just repeating it. Gary Malcolm command Mindlink. More Paragon. Salvage Yard Mimitar event hacked. We post active. Those traders are marked for destruction. Warpost is online and locking onto the ashes. Love to see it. Great work. Okay, so in the salvage yard, oh, I guess you're doing something until they can bring the warposts online. Warpost is active and blasting away at those ashes scum. Nicely done, Captain. So it's ashes, ashes, ashes. So all four, Amar, Caldari, Galente, and Mimitar are all attacking the ashes of Alar. Ashes of Turner. I always get that wrong. Okay. Suppressors. Federal Sorter and Federal Depositor. I'm assuming this is just a Thucker Hoarder. Yeah, these are just more pieces of the home fronts. New rats. Monthly rewards. Licensing binders. Wait. A license for unlimited use of a pattern in skin sequencing. Once activated inside your SKINR collection, this digital sequence of this pattern license has not been bound, allowing it for unlimited use. However, every time you... So you can get unlimited things that once you've activated it, you can now use it unlimitedly. So there's not like... So you can get SKINR components that aren't necessarily limited. You can grow your unlimited collection. Interesting. A license or a license for a single use of a pattern in skin sequencing. Once activated inside your SKINR collection, the digital sequence of this pattern license has been bound, and though it can only be used once, no sequence binders are required for it to be consumed in the sequencing of the living of the skin. That's Shattered Conceptions, whatever that is. Camo Virage Unlimited. Okay. And Camo Virage Limited. Pillars of Inequality. These are cool sounding things. Boss Escalation. Fade In. Material Camo. Martial Camo. 4 from 1. Wait. What was many now becomes 1 when 1 becomes 4. Okay. Weird. I wonder if that's a reference. That seems interesting. Because that's 4 from 1 instead of 1 from 4. Escape curve. Either way. Sorry. Had a moment. Sovereignty hubs, skyhooks, magmatic gases, upgrades, offline pending, low upgrades, online. Upgrading. You've managed to pull, more escalation stuff. This blueprint cannot be used anymore. Dominate in a reinvigorated null set, create custom skins, strengthen your corp, and reach greater goals. That's the expansion header. Blank character name has just linked to the orbital skyhook at planet name in order to steal reagents. The theft process was initiated at date time link and requires 10 minutes to complete. That character cannot warp away during this process, and the theft will fail if they die or move away from the skyhook. And then 2 minutes later, they get the character is linked with the... So it tells them the character name and the planet, which tells you the system. And then 2 minutes later, it says, hey, by the way, they're 1 jump away. And then at 5 minutes, they say, hey, by the way, they're 2 jumps away. I don't know what cleaning up a system means. I'm going to assume that it's like debugging and not something that we're going to get. More SKINRs. Let's see. We got Holovisual Violet Matte and Holovisual Violet Satin and Gloss. All limited. Process, read, blah, 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 skin... Omega stuff. Continuous alpha, clone state alpha. Reduce rewards, blah, blah. Different power yields. You were too far to install an upgrade. Orbital skyhook details. Or upgrading and management UI text. Paragon Hub skid trading is coming on the 20th. Buy skins designed by your fellow capsulators and list your own skins for sale. Remember, that means no trading. iHub management stuff or SovHub management stuff. Deprecated. Is that it? I made it to the bottom. New files. Don't worry, just 2,000 more files. Oh my god. I'm not even going to be able to go through. Normally I just like search. So what I'll search for is like 512. That's not even going to get me very far, is it? Oh, there's the rec. Maybe it'll get me too far. Yeah, relatively normal stuff there. Oh well. If we go up here, we can look at the new items. Squall, Avalanche, Deluge, Torrent, Upwell, Holler Rex. Here's the doodads. And their blueprints, the Skyhook. That's what magmatic gas and superionic ice looks for, like. There's the sequence binders. All of the skills. Rats for the different sites and everything. These are the upgrades. More NPC stuff. Oh, the Benefaction Potremba is a Trig ship. It's a hauler. It's in the Homefront. Fitness has been proven, an uncorrupted flow needs no mortification. So they're literally saying, hey, by the way, we're fit, don't kill us. Reciprocity for the shrouded conductors of ancient domains will rise in advancing time coordinates. We will pay you back for the shrouded conductors of ancient domains will rise in advancing. I'm going to have to think about what that might actually mean. We'll have to see what it looks like in context. There's some of the new ore. More of the new ore. Emblems. Ore. Ah! So here's our patterns. Triple stripe. Division. Camo. Shatter Conceptions, like a harsher camo. Urban camo. Wormhole camo. Checkmate, which is the checkerboard. Escaped Curve, which is like, somebody pointed out that this kind of makes like fish scales. Fade In. This is one of the ones that are you get by default, they said, I think. Camo Virage. Oh, I get it. That looks good, man. That's the triangles that get used in like that's what's used in like casino skin. Pillars of Inequity. Just different like Hex Recursion. Data Fragmentation. That looks also cool. 4 from 1 is just 4 dots. There's Abyssal Corruption. That's the one that they showed on like the pancake flipper. Corroded Trust. Looks a little different. And a lot of the same ones again. More modules, or more of the upgrade pieces. Here's the colors. All different kinds of colors. All different kinds of colors. So many colors. And then Samsha Station Ruins. That's probably for one of the sites. And then here's all the net resonators that replace the current need for the trigger units. The towers, those are for the sites. This is for the sites. Which, by the way, these home fronts, even though they're in this patch, are not in the patch notes. The new home fronts that we're looking at in the strings are not in the patch notes. So I don't know whether or not they're going to come out or not. I assume that something's going to happen between now and Monday or Tuesday. That's going to be the reason why these things are happening. I think Ashes of Turner are about to do something pretty silly in the next few days, maybe in response to Upwell rolling out. Actually, what I would expect is honestly, okay, so this is what I expect. I expect something to happen on the 20th, right? That causes a lot of these things to turn on, but we'll have to see. Damaged warp post. This is all site stuff. New faction guys. There's the signature radius suppressors. More rats. SKINR sequencer rewards. And the special holo visual violet, which is somehow special from all of the rest. And that's it, guys. That is the patch notes and everything about what is coming on Tuesday next week. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out here. Please share this with other people. The first person to get me timestamps that I can use will get 4 Master Arm Cerebral accelerators. So hopefully, if you see the timestamps down below, you should be able to see who did it in the comment or in the description and thank them. But I want to thank everybody who's been here and who supports the stream and the show. It has been a pretty fun journey to get up to Equinox, and we are excited about the future of it. I want to know down below, what about today, everything that was announced today is the most exciting thing to you? Is it something that we already heard about, like the SKINR system, or is these announced changes to carriers? That's changed the world for me. Like, I have a few carriers, and now I might actually use them. That's actually pretty exciting. Let me know down below in the comments down below. But as always, I have been Ashtarothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put even into context for you, my fellow Imperians. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will be back on Monday to cover anything I might have missed today, as well as the New Eden news and the Chronicle that, according to these notes, may actually have more application in the future than I thought originally. So that's going to be exciting to see. Thank you guys all for being here. But I have been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. And until next time, I'll see you in space. Like the stream, buy merch, buy that new shirt. I want to get the new shirt. I should be getting my new mug tomorrow. Or, well, I was supposed to get it today, my invited mug. I'm very excited by that. But either way, bye.
Bring on the wrecking machine. City